Again?
Are we pledging again?
Yes, we are. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You never pledge too much.
All right, there we go.
That's right.
All right. Put this stuff back here. All righty. Has everybody had a chance to review the agenda? Are there any conflicts of interest from the board? All right, we'll have the agenda approved as presented. Madam Auditor, would you be so kind as to read our minutes from last week?
March 19, 2024, the Board of Supervisors met at 9 AM with Jean Hayden, Chair presiding. Members present were Schultz, Dozark, Hayden, Mulbauer, and Rossberg. Minutes of the previous meeting were read and approved. The board recognized hiring of Richard Rasmussen, seasonal part-time grade crew employee, David Rice, seasonal part-time grade employee, Mitchell Schwartz, seasonal part-time ditch crew, West employee, Cole Town, seasonal part-time bridge crew employee, Barry Jurgensen, seasonal part-time motor grader operator, Tony Dieter, seasonal part-time motor grader operator, Kay Blanc, regular part-time engineers office employee, and Vernon Snessen, seasonal part-time roadside employee in the engineers department. Holmes and Murphy discussed with the board about the health and dental insurance renewals. No action was taken at this time. Motion was made by Schultz, seconded by Dozark to approve the replacement of the assessor's mini split, assessor office mini split, the new temperature controlled system installation, $14,195. Motion passed unanimously. A motion was made by Dozark, seconded by Mulbauer to approve the liquor license for Manning Manila Golfing Country Club. Motion passed unanimously. A motion was made by Schultz, seconded by Rossberg to approve Crawford, or the Charter Oak Cemetery Bank authorization to Bethany Lincoln Hoker, Charter Oak Township Clerk. Motion passed unanimously. A motion was made by Schultz, seconded by Dozark to set time, date, and location for public hearing regarding the land rent auction for the Crawford County Farm for April 2nd, 10 AM in the Board of Supervisors, a boardroom on the second floor of the courthouse. Motion passed unanimously. The board discussed the land use ordinance. Hayden referenced the 1976 policy zoning and Dennison land use plan books. On motion duly seconded, the board adjourned 11:48 AM. Agendas for the next meeting posted and available at the courthouse on Friday, 4:30 PM, preceding the next meeting.
All right, anybody see anything they needed to have corrected in there? Otherwise, that will stand approved as read. All
I
right,
see nothing.
all right. So reports from the supervisors. I'm just gonna start in just a minute with, we had our conference board meeting. I have not heard from the candidate that we offered the job to. I'm just wanting to make sure the wishes of this board is to visit with him today, maybe, and see what he's deciding, and then give it till the end of the week, or what's the wishes of this board that I do, since I've not heard anything.
I think that's a good plan.
Good plan? Visit
Alright,
with
so-
him today after the meeting and see,
I think you can stop down there today after the meeting, just say we need an answer by
end of the week.
end of the week, that Friday.
Everybody agree? Okay, I just wanted to make sure I stayed within what you.
I mean, I think that's certainly long enough time
I think so
to make a
too.
decision.
And then we'll have to decide if we need to get the conference board back together to go with the plan B if they don't want to accept what we've offered. So, all right, who had something they wanted to discuss? Craig, you haven't gone first.
I think not since last week.
Is that right? I have to start keeping track of everyone first.
But, the only thing I guess that I wanted to let the board know was, with West Central Community Action, I do have their
They mailed
financial
us one.
statements.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
sent one,
We
okay.
looked through one.
Yep,
Is,
it was in the book.
I mean, Head Start is under there, and they're losing their lease, I think I've told you that, and so because of that, they have 16 students and 6 staff. And those 6 staff are office, and they're trying to find some office space in Denison, and also a place where they could house their, Head Start program. If they don't find a location, they're gonna move from a center-based Head Start to a home-based Head Start. And the parents were I guess, okay with that. They would prefer, I think, a center base, just because then they can come and drop their kids off, you know, for about 6 hours a day versus home base. They stay at home and then they set up appointments to go and to their home and meet with them maybe on a night or an afternoon with the parents and the child, and they, you know, a lot more responsibility, I guess, falls on the parents as to what they wanna have accomplished. So what I talked to Danny Sagabard, who heads up the Head Start program, and she's coming to town tomorrow morning because they're moving, they have to be out of their building by April 30th. And so they're moving some of their stuff to a rental location just to store stuff. And I told her, I said, hey, we do have the Crawford County Annex building that people will be moving out of at some point in time. And I know I said the county would prefer to sell that building and get it back on the tax rolls. But I would think that if we want to maintain a Head Start program in Crawford County for the citizens, that we maybe on a short-term basis would entertain if public health moved out of there to put the Head Start program there, if they thought it was sufficient. And so
Yeah,
tomorrow morning at 8:30, Danny's coming to town, and me and her are gonna go and look at the building just to see if it is even something that they
Yeah.
would consider. Certainly, I think it would work from a staff standpoint where they would have offices for their staff. I just don't know how it would work for preschool. I mean, I told her there's no place you could have a playground or, you know,
No
anything like
playground.
that. So I don't know if it'll work, but I said, at least it's an option.
Short term at the very least.
short term. And
Exactly.
it's not even
So
close to
they're
a park that
currently-
they could walk to, that's
They're
the
in the
other.
Peterson building, correct?
What's that?
Their Head Start's currently in the.
In the Peterson building, right. And Wesco is moving there with their WAVE program, because that's where Wesco's moving.
Okay.
So they moved Head Start out basically to put the weight in, do you think?
Well-
Is that?
It was Peterson Manufacturing's decision
Oh,
to
okay.
end the lease
Okay,
and to sign a new lease with Wesco.
oh,
So it wasn't like quid pro quo, so to speak. It was, we gave them notice. We're renting it to
I can't
Wesco.
even think of any
16
other
kids is how many
facilities
they
on
have?
there.
16 kids
16
currently.
kids, okay. All right,
So I just wanted to make you all aware of that, and we'll see where it goes. I think there might be, I mean, I'm gonna, this afternoon, I'm gonna call my pastor just to have him, I think, have him walk up to Our Savior and take a look at. I mean, the biggest problem is always from a fire code standpoint, is that usually is what
That's what I said.
nixes buildings.
yep.
That's what I said.
And I told her, I said, well, this one's, you know, kind of like right next door to the fire department, you know, so, so that's gotta be a plus, right?
Yeah.
If you can't get out the door, heck, we can just, they're right next
We're
door.
gonna fill the church full of roses, just go.
But, so that's probably the biggest thing that,
Yeah.
went on with the West Central Community Action with our meeting last, Tuesday night.
Okay.
And I guess we had an IT meeting on Wednesday, and no, we're gonna have, Jake's gonna stop in sometime today and kind of update us as far as the phones.
Yeah.
I think you guys all got emails on the phone system and how to, and so he's gonna let us know how that all went.
Kind of my understanding it's not going real well, because I was in the attorney's office yesterday and they weren't getting any phone calls, that nobody, like, I think the sheriff's department was trying to call them and they couldn't get through. Did you hear about that?
Nope, didn't hear about that.
They were calling.
So that's why we got Jake coming.
Okay,
He's our IT guy.
so he's gonna give us
I
an
didn't realize
update.
there were any problems.
Yep, I just happened to have been in.
Felt
the
pretty seamless.
And,
We did talk about cybersecurity training in the IT meeting.
yeah, go ahead and talk about that.
ISAC does not offer a cybersecurity training. We thought maybe they did. He checked through Beth Manley, but that's what we're doing HIPAA compliance with. Gary Jones does offer cybersecurity training for $1,500. We were kind of asking, well, what does that all entail? Jake's gonna look into it further. We thought, yeah, cybersecurity is very important, of course, but is this a 2-hour deal and he's out, or is this an ongoing? We didn't know the details.
Actually, with like AI and all, as fast as all this stuff evolves in cyber, boy, oh boy.
You know, usually when you have training about that, it's over everybody's head, is, you know, what they tell you, and you just, basically, they say, don't open up any emails you don't recognize, you know?
So he's looking into, I mean, he wants to provide some type of cybersecurity training for all of our county employees, but just seeing what the details are.
Right, and we were gonna have them check into, also our insurance agent.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Is because we're like, if we're purchasing, insurance, we would think that they would maybe offer that program through their,
Or
insurance
have the
company.
connections of who.
Or have the connections as to who does that, cause it just seemed like, and Dave and I both agreed that $1,500 seemed high when we didn't know what exactly it was for and how much time he was gonna spend here and how do we educate everybody at the courthouse. So,
Yeah, we just want to see a plan with it.
right, right.
Probably not a bad idea, but $1,500 is.
Seems a little steep.
We talked a little bit about, and this was brought up at some of our ISAC board meetings as well, about how ISAC was supposed to get funding to help with cybersecurity and it was a cybersecurity grant, is really what it was. And it ended up that it's going to ISU. So there was a handshake agreement at the beginning of it. I think they were supposed to receive like 350,000, and then as Director Paulson, he said has ties to state and changed course of action, and they're getting the funding grant money instead. So that's part of the reason why.
Right, it was designed specifically, I think, for rural, Iowa.
Right.
And because I found that online and I sent it to Jake and I just said, hey, have you applied for
That
this?
stuff that came back from Washington. wasn't it?
And he responded back and he looked into it and he said, it turns out that it's all going to Iowa State University for
The
their
whole thing.
cybersecurity
There
program.
was only
They are
three
a
hundred
land
and fifty.
grant They are a land grant college, so you could say it went to the rural people.
Exactly, that's exactly what they said.
But just kind of interesting how,
Are they gonna help us at all though? I mean, is it just going to them and are they
Will
gonna
they
share
put something out through
information with us?
extensions maybe?
I don't know.
That's not the way that I took it.
I
I took
don't-
it that Iowa State was starting their own cybersecurity program, and this was going to help jumpstart that program. Now,
That's
like
right.
you say, from that, will it go through the extensions to get out? Possibly, I guess.
Someday.
To be continued?
But I can't imagine that serving all the cities and counties within the state of Iowa through the extent. Maybe it will, but
Be tough. That's not a lot of money in that kind of
No,
350.
that's,
No, we increased the staff at Iowa State by 3 people and
1.5.
1.5.
all right. So David, is that all you had?
yeah, that's, I had the IT meeting. I had a few phone calls on the mailer, went out.
I think the most calls I had was that they didn't get them. That was,
Mine were more, what is this?
yeah,
Well, it's an additional mailer.
yeah.
I think it's typical that you, I guess from a taxpayer also, is that when you get a letter like that, you wish it was your property specific. Instead of always, and I know you can't do that, cause I mean,
Nope.
it'd just be
Wasn't the nature
impossible
of the.
to do that, but you're always like, well, how does this affect me? Can I just show me my property a year ago, my property proposed?
That'd be too much.
Instead, they say, no, this is based on a $100,000 house and you're like, yeah, okay, I gotta go find my assessed
Yeah.
document that I got sent by the assessor as to what my
I still
assessed
don't think
value is,
Clear
figure it
deal.
up myself.
Actually, that info's on your tax statement.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Oh,
Yes,
this year and last year is
Right.
on your tax statement.
right, exactly, it is. yes.
I still feel like there's confusion though, when they see the increase in taxes.
Oh,
Like you
yeah.
Pointed out, they're like, well, you raised my taxes. No, actually, if you look at the levy rate, you did not, your valuation went up, and that is still not clear.
And
even
the
though they
whole
got an
rollback
additional mailer.
thing, it's complicated.
Terry, you said that the mailing costs 5,000,
Mm-hmm.
and
That's
you have to do 2 mailings?
No,
Just, cause in our sheet
One.
here. we have-
having them produced and mailed out
10,000
was
for the mailing.
5,000.
we had that in there before we knew what
How
the
much?
proposed costs were,
That
so,
wasn't
yeah.
Cause that's why I think I had in the back of my mind, the 10,000 of what that was gonna cost.
Hi, what did you have last week?
Well, my turn.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I had Central Iowa Juvenile Detention was the big thing that I had last week. Otherwise, it was nothing of any major consequence and theirs was you know, most of the redundant, obviously this further into this, now they're starting to get their final pay, and so their financial report looked a lot better on the income versus the expense. Their revenues were up 60, they prorated 66% on that because they were down last month. If you guys want to, I didn't have it printed up, but I got it all here in my email. If it ain't color to me, it's hard to get sorted through this. But the big thing they were doing is they were going over their increases. And Kyle, are they doing anything different with the exigent kids and stuff? You know, we've even got a classification of extreme exigent. That's the very, no, exigent. That's the violent ones. The kids that are more violent. You know, cause like even on the report, I think 2 kids in there for murder and stuff like that. But,
As far as rate wise,
yeah, see, we didn't have, and this was the big meeting before, this was the big thing is what moves a kid from one level to another, cause that affects the bill that they send it, well, to Nate and to Terry subsequently. But, you know, what changes it? So they actually kind of spelled it out here somewhat. They use a point system. And if your score is 10, you're a standard exigent. If you're intermediate, it's a 20, and then extreme exigence, you know, a 30. And it also went through, let's see,
who sets some criteria?
well, basically the center.
No, yes, sir,
None
does
of-
not have
Yeah, anything like that.
anything like that. It's member counties, there's X amount of dollars a day and, you know, that's that.
What they went to is because it costs more, obviously, supervision wise and different things that a kid will do if they're exigent or extreme exigent. And so they tried to break the billing down to be you know, satisfy their cost of operation.
There's nothing in state code that says, that spells out the difference in levels of the.
No, not really. I think this is just something that's kind of came up because now that we've got the adult waived in there and all this different things, you know, there's just different, I mean, gosh, if you go down here and, hold on, the kids. I'll find it, yeah. The reports on the kids that are in, where is it? Oh, okay, here, the detention count, all right, you know, I mean, there's 2 kids in there for 1st-degree murder, one's an attempted murder, and then sexual abuse and robberies, you know, I mean, just.
They have the ages on that, is that 16?
Well, you know, it doesn't really say the ages on any of these kids. It doesn't give you a lot of detail, you know, because they're all minors, obviously. But, like the 2 that are up there for murder are female. Yeah, I mean, that's you know, the female count on the serious violations at least it went down, but the female count on the, you know, aggravated misdemeanors and stuff like that. Actually, in felony, I mean, most of that, there's a lot more in that, you know, non-felony cases, you know, the misdemeanors. But, it's always, you know, assault, bodily injury, assault with a weapon, harassment. I mean, there's a lot of stuff where these are the ones that really got me though. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Threats of terrorism.
Terrorism?
Yep, I mean, and what constitutes that? Nobody was real sure. That's obviously set by the courts and we just know the charge.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, bomb threats.
Yeah. Yeah, just where they're gonna terrorize
Yeah,
the
terrorize.
school or whatever. They've actually done a couple different things where cause Central Iowa Juvenile Detention does a lot of things outside of the detention arena, you know, they do financials and all that other different stuff, you know, like, HR work, now they're doing more of that. Obviously the transportation aspect, and they do tracking, you know, I suspect you know, like the prisoners that have ankle bracelets and stuff like that, counseling, you know, the fiscal agents, and then drug testing. And they actually created a real nice chart here that shows the difference, clear back to February of 08, clear up to February of 23. And you can see that their largest growth is actually as fiscal agents, you know, and a lot of that is for workforce development and different things like that. But it's actually gave them a larger staff to take care of the clerical aspect of things, which reduces the cost to us as the counties, or where it doesn't increase as much. Anyway, but, I mean, they're up to just short of 40 million a year in gross revenues, you know, I mean, so they're doing things, and then Tony's just, I don't know, some days he's a pain, but he's always looking for the next best thing to help run that facility, and right now his big thing has actually been on, there's a big spot there that they'll never use for development, but it's wide open area, and he's wanting to put the solar panels, I think I've talked about that before, which will eventually, in like 6 to 8 years, it'll pay for itself, and I think he's actually got that down to a less number. But then it'll be free electricity, but you know, it'll have you won't have electricity back.
Has he mentioned much about the reorg for behavioral health and how it could potentially affect the juvenile system?
Yeah, actually, they actually work, you know, I think they get called to, because, I mean, even when we were talking to, what's that lady's name?
Kelly Garcia.
Garcia?
Yeah, cause supposedly they're in contact with her, I mean, cause that was a question that we even asked her down there, if you remember.
Yep.
About the juvenile detention centers. And, so there's communication going on there. I mean, I'm hoping that they'll actually put some more money into having, even if it's a traveling psychologist that goes out there to talk to these different centers.
Well, they're showing there's a correlation between, mental illness and drugs and crime.
Yep.
That's all.
Well, most of these kids, you know, most of them, then their criminal behavior is developed from early childhood trauma. You know, so I mean, there's more than a correlation, there's the fact that
Yeah,
that's
that's
usually
fact.
what created it, you know, so I mean, that's
Makes sense.
something that, yeah, I mean, hopefully will become a full system out there in place that takes care of that, but, I mean, as far as it goes, their revenues are good. They're on track on their expenses, net worth, you know, I mean, they got all that. Let's see, net worth report. Net worth is $10,408,000 and so on, you know. So they got a pretty consistent, but it's, you know, it's been a slow growth. You know, I mean, they had a couple down here, but that was when they were building the new addition. And now that's starting to gain value again. So, I mean, they're doing good. Aging summary, we're always good there. Great job, Madam Monitor. So, I mean, that as far as getting the bills paid, they did discuss that where there's some of these agencies that can get out, and obviously most of them are state level or what have you. Get out there at the 90+ days, but you know, if you stop and think about how the billing cycles work for them, it's probably a little more complicated than us, but I mean, you send one here, by the time she, you know, gets it in her office and we go through the approvals and all that stuff, I mean, you're almost always at least 2 weeks, you know, so let's just call it a month, you'll be in that 1 to 30 days. But Crawford County has never been, where I've ever seen in the 90s. Like, have we had a bill from them lately?
They go to Nate, so
So that nothing comes
he's the
over here?
one. Yeah, he has to bring it over here.
But I mean,
It
that's
goes
what-
to Nate,
yeah, I know they go to Nate initially, but I mean,
right?
I can't remember the last time we had a bill. A lot of times we don't have overnight bed days, but we'll have evaluations, and them actually aren't cheap. But,
So what they do is drive them up there for a day, they visit with
well,
one.
it depends on the requirement the judge puts on it. I mean, there's a lot of it that comes through the juvenile court system that, you know, nobody has control over, so. And now sometimes it's a 30-day evaluation, then we'll have bed days. And even there's counseling that they can do, and things like that, then there's transportation costs, and it's a deal. You can see on here where I did ask them, I inquired about the transporter, Kyle,
Yep,
from yours.
yep.
I did inquire about that. They said that he may have took it upon himself when he was at some hospitals to say where he was working now, but they didn't ask him to do anything. And, anyway, I don't, hopefully it stopped. They said, well, that's kind of crappy. I said, here you guys were moderately trying to work together
Yeah.
for a change, and now something like this happens. And I said, that's not helping our long-term goals of actually having the state, do more of their commitment, pay their dang commitment, So in any event, I did, that's listed on here. So if you're wanting to look at any of this stuff, you sure can. But I didn't sound like I was very happy with them about that, so.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
All
I
right.
mean, I'm disappointed that we were gaining ground as working together to help the state detention facilities, and all of a sudden you got people who don't trust again.
How many state detention facilities are there?
Oh, shoot.
7?
7, I think.
7 is there 2 being built?
No.
Lynn County is redoing one.
They're probably, redoing, there's no new ones.
Yeah, no, nothing new. But theirs will be bigger. But you still only got so many approved beds across the whole state. That's something that probably is gonna have to change. You guys still have like some from Nebraska from their reservations and stuff, don't you? We've got,
BIA is, and the state of Nebraska's got a contract, but they are only when we have availability. I mean, if member counties fill up, they get kicked out. So.
yep, that's kinda how it works over there too. I did see on here where there was on the aging report, this one here was only $880 only, I say. But it was, from the California Department of Children and Family Services. Otherwise, somebody was sending them a long ways out there.
Well, they could have been in Iowa and got in a bind and got put there.
Yep.
But, yeah.
But
Imagine fighting that out between state jurisdictions and all that,
well, and it's on 90-day over.
California be like, that ain't our problem.
That's probably less, well, that's kind of what they said. Thankfully, it's not a very big bill, because that's probably one that'll be impossible to get. And they actually figure that into the budget, I guess, that some things they won't get reimbursed for. But they're very cautious when they do take on an outside client, that's not in the member counties, so that they don't burden our expenses with things like that.
But they will bill, right?
Oh, yeah, they bill them, yeah. I mean, I'm sure they send their little 1.5% increase too, but some of them just don't pay attention that, and I don't know how the billing process works in the state level, it's like DHS, they've got a fair amount on the books, I mean, none of it's really bad late as far as the dollar amounts, but it's still at the 90 days plus, so. Like any business, you're dealing with stuff like that. Their turnover rate has really slowed down, they did some pay increases and stuff too, and now with the new facility, actually, that's helped with their turnover, because they can use that to kind of handle the kids that are a little bit, the extreme exigent, use that and how they put them in their little cubes in there, as opposed to having to deal with them physically, so it seems to be working pretty good there to help that. They do a lot of new things where they're doing the employer record. That's where I was talking about, like you could get insurance through them and all that other stuff, like if you were, CDC and couldn't, afford to have all them extra things, in HR, they can do all that kind of stuff too now. So that's one of their new, I ain't really new, but it's one of them they're pushing a little bit more to take care of more people and that stuff. They do a lot of stuff. It actually has a little list here of their big in, they got 21 million off of the fiscal contracts this last year. And so anyway, it was a pretty long meeting, and there was a few things at the beginning they were going over as far as who's doing what on the executive board, which is really nothing you really want to trouble yourself with. They'll get their way worked through it, but just on whose responsibility is what, who's supposed to watch Tony's hours and that kind of stuff. Bob Thode from Fort Dodge, or he's from Fort Dodge, but he's Webster County's He's the old cop and there isn't a speck of dust floats across the desk that he doesn't notice, you know, he's pretty sharp about that stuff. So he's our second vice chair and he keeps a good eye on that stuff. Anyway, that's pretty much all I had, Madam Chair. If you guys wanna look at this here, I mean, I can show it to you.
All right.
Or you can go have it printed up.
Okay, kind of ironic, we're gonna segue right into, I went up to the Youth Emergency Services meeting in Cherokee, braved the snow and ice covered roads of Ida County and Cherokee County to get there, but anyways, it was a fun ride to say the least, but, short and sweet. Financially wise, I mean, we're right on pace for the year, nothing big there. Of note, their workers' comp insurance went up 8,000, almost 40%, I think.
Ooh, it must have had some,
No,
no
no,
no
Nope.
incident.
no big incidents,
It's just one of them dangerous occupations.
just one of those things. I don't know how that's gonna affect ours, but a lot of the other supervisors were saying how theirs had went up quite a bit as well.
On all work comp?
Yeah, I think work comp in general,
All insurance in
and
general.
all insurance in general.
Yeah.
Other couple highlights of that, and I never thought, but the AEA, the changes going on there, they're concerned how that's gonna play, cause they have a teacher come in, teach these kids while they're there. And I think that's supplied by the AEA, so another fold in the AEA conglomeration deal there. They did give kudos to our auditor, cause we are the only county that does ACHs and you know what it takes to.
21st century stuff.
Exactly, so they're going to, they're 68 cents a stamp now, it's starting to get, costly when we could just do it over the internet.
Mhm.
It makes,
Yeah,
yeah,
Michelle does a good job of getting everybody incorporated into our ACH. And
So kudos to you and your office for doing
Yeah,
that,
she
you're
does a good
saving the
job.
taxpayer dollars, so, you know. And that 68 cents here, there, it adds up to, I forget what the postage was, like
It'd be nice if we could do that with our citizens, it would save $8,000.
$408 for postage.
Yeah,
yeah.
great.
And then you're not sure if it's gonna get there.
Think about like.
Right,
Once it
yeah,
leaves
no
there,
guarantees.
it's not-
Mailings
Don't know where it
all the
went.
time.
Right,
Correct.
Yeah,
Also some of the mental health districts now, when they do transports, you know, that gets billed to the mental health districts, they're kind of concerned how that is going to, cause the rates, they're talking about raising the rates to be more, I think it was St. Luke's called the other night, needed a transport, asked what our rates were. They told them, they said, come get them.
wow.
They were half rate of what they've been, so.
Yeah,
So the concern is now that the state takes, the Department of Health and Human Services takes over, they're gonna set a flat rate for this stuff, and then
everybody.
transportation will not be a moneymaker per se. You know, it would affect Tony, I mean, it, like all
Yeah,
of, anybody that does it, so, or will they hire out to the cheapest? Rossberg Trucking gonna come in and underbid everybody and.
probably not, but.
But, you know, something like that, could Uber Transports or something come in and take over all that.
Suppose they'd let me haul them around the cow trailer, I don't know.
It worked when we were in Fort Benning, Georgia.
There you go.
Cattle all around cow trailers every day.
but they always have to have two people, no?
No.
Most of them are single.
Yeah, and they get like a lot, I mean, I think all their cars over there, the only ones, all the ones I've ever seen, they got the, like.
Cage and.
Cage
Yeah,
in
that
the back.
cage across the back of the front seat.
So those are new issues that keep coming up out of all this stuff. And it's like, how's this gonna
That's
play
good,
out?
yeah. We hadn't talked about AEA, but I remember him mentioning stuff about that transport stuff, yeah.
I will center around this, I mean, you kind of touched on it, but Libby, she will be the new assistant director here, I think, very shortly, cause she did it's interesting, a year in review, statistics of the Yes Center, and then goes through like page one is charges that the clients were in there from, aggravated assault, all the way up to murder and, you know, terrorism. The numbers, and that's just center wide and it goes through just all the neat statistics, so. Really kind of puts things in perspective. What do they have murders in there, 18?
Murder, attempted murder, 18.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Criminal mischief, 9, so twice as many.
And you know, the crazy
That's
part is,
over how many, how
it
long?
don't always say the age. I don't know if yours has got ages, but some of them are pretty
2023.
young kids, 8,
You know,
12
by
years
gender.
old. Wow.
There's a big-
Crawford County's got 8 female, 9 male.
Yeah,
Yeah.
age of clients,
Six
under
or less than
12 or under 6.
There's a 6-year-old there?
No,
No,
6 or 12.
Six.
Or 12.
Yep.
Wow,
A 6-year-old.
I was trying to say, what? I think
Bed days per month.
it's a colorful chart.
Oh yeah, Libby went overboard on it.
No expense
She's,
there.
yeah. Well, they got cut back on postage.
I don't know.
Colored printer, but wouldn't make sense
Right.
without the color on that. But they were like we're
50
the
shades
middle of the
gray.
road there, we need to talk to Ida and Cherokee County. They had 0 kids in last year.
What are they doing with their non-kids?
What are they doing right, huh?
Yeah, what are they doing with theirs?
They have deep
Maybe they-
basements.
Maybe they put them to hard labor right there in the county.
Could be. But that was, kind of
They
the
don't build
gist
them
of
new
that.
roads.
The only other thing of importance that trying to work with Martha and get our farm lease drawn up by, so next
Next
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yep. She had it all put together, but I read through it and I just wanted some verbiage. I sent it to Craig on to that this is a 1-year contract. And she had that in there. But she had to be compliant with farm lease, it still terminates at the end of February. So I wanted the verbiage put in there that says this is going into the conservation reserve program and then we
So-
will have the right to exercise seeding or whatever after their crops have been terminated.
That's what screwed us up this last year.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just wanted that verbiage in there of some sort to make sure it's clear, or even have another piece of paper to sign the day of the auction that says, hey, I relinquish my rights to this after crops have been harvested.
Harvest, yeah.
Or there's been communication amongst this board and the renter.
Are you gonna have her put in there that they cannot take cornstalk bales off?
Mm-mm.
So,
But taking bales off wouldn't hurt us. would it?
no, but here's my point. Let's say they do, and we wanna seed it, but they don't haul them off for a month.
Oh,
Well,
Now's the time to make sure that,
that's a good point.
no, I didn't put that in there because I thought, well, if somebody sees the value of that,
They're gonna bid up,
they'll bid up on that.
but
So.
my point, and I don't mind that they, because we're gonna seed it down to CRP anyways, but you don't wanna have them leave those bales there and say, well, my lease is till February.
Yeah.
Exactly, Dave, good point.
No, that's a good point.
That's why we wanna change the date.
Yeah.
Yeah, cause would we want to see
I don't-
that in the fall?
That's something I have to ask her about if it's legal to change that date. Is it a farm, I would think the farm lease should be one that is established by the land owner. The length of lease, I would think. I don't know if there's any legal stuff that would say otherwise.
Dry nitrogen?
I think that the Iowa code puts it in there, so in general, if
No,
you
no,
don't
I'm
have a signed lease, here's the rules that you
Oh, I
have
don't
to
even know.
abide by.
Seeding CRP.
But if you do have a signed lease, then, yeah, the owner can
I think a lot of
dictate,
them just wanna seed it.
Seed it.
here's,
Just
But
use
it's not-
rules, just use a drill and
Yeah.
everything.
Well, that-
Would use wagons.
As you've learned, the,
Drill.
some of the things that come across this desk seem to be, as Kuman would say, slam dunk. He used to say that a lot, but are not even close to, it's like an air ball.
this has been quite a process to.
It is,
figure out what
it
we're
is.
gonna do with that.
It is a
Something
process just because we're a government entity.
right.
What,
Well, I just bring it up because I don't wanna, next fall come in and, hey, we're ready to seed it, and
Yep.
you can't get a hold of whoever rents it, and you can't get them to get it
can't
off.
assume and can't make them.
You can't make them.
Well, I
If you
guess-
take stock
Probably
bales, you
there
gotta
with
have them
tractor.
all by,
Well, you can't really put a date on it because you don't, if it's about the corn, you don't even,
That might
depending on
not
the
be
fall,
legal.
you don't really know
when
when
you're
it's
gonna
gonna
get it off.
would it even be fit to.
It
But the
is,
unique thing is, we still have all next spring to seed it.
That's true. I mean, you could,
Yeah.
seed it in the spring as well.
Right, so I mean, just by having that verbiage in there that says they're signing off that what we're gonna put it in the CRP is gonna be key. 'Cause that's what held us up a year ago.
Yep.
Renner would not sign off on it.
Yep, we learned.
I get it, but
So I did talk to Lisa after that. She said, well, yeah, you don't have to have it seeded fall this year. If you get it, she said if you get it in, obviously, there's still that chance that we won't even get it in the CRP, but I think the chances would be pretty slim.
Right, I would agree.
That's all I had. Gene, I'll give you a couple minutes.
All right.
Dean, if I could just, I just wanted to add one thing that I wanted to.
I called on you first and you weren't ready,
Okay,
so I wrote
well-
down that you're not first next week, sorry.
It's fine. Oh, with West Central Community Action, I think we got sent a copy of their financials. And I think when you look through there, it's something that kind of jumped out at me at least. And I'm sure it's with all of the government agencies that we deal with and work with, is the cost to run those agencies and, you know, the benefits that they are set to provide for the people that they're trying to provide this for, and then the cost that associates with that. I mean, West Central Community Action has a budget of $17 million. And the assistance to individuals, actual money out of that 17 million that went to people, 6.5 million. So, you know, when you take $17 million of tax dollars and it costs you about, what, 9.5 million to give out 6.5 million. And I think that's,
a little troubling.
yeah.
It's,
When you put it in perspective like that, don't make sense. But I think that's what the governor's task force is trying to.
I think that's what the governor is trying to clean some, right, just
Just,
exactly, but a lot of that, they get a lot of federal money too. I mean, you know, so, and like I said, it's interesting if you look at any other government agencies that you're associated with
Public health.
and, right, public health,
Public
and
health.
look at the dollars that comes in, and that's the frustrating
Yeah.
part sometimes, is that
yeah.
we are trying to do, they are trying to do good things. I mean, with what Central Community Action does, it's a good stuff. Just that the cost that goes into staffing and, you know, everything to
Benefits.
get it.
Diapers, you know, all of that, you know,
Yes.
when they break that down into what
Right.
that really costs,
Right.
insurance, you know.
Right.
It'd be interesting to see what their operational cost was when it was originally put together, the percentage versus what it's
Probably
grown
bare
to.
bones.
The staff's never ceased to grow, you
Never
know what I'm
ceased.
saying?
Hungry Canyon's a good example of that. They're still just bare bones.
Bare bones.
Bare bones, couple people, that's
Just one
it.
guy,
Yeah.
yeah.
question,
Yeah.
how do they figure in like of that 6.5 million, and like I'm thinking like with public health, if it's a service provided that you don't necessarily receive money back for providing, or like with West Central, if it's not, going towards something tangible like a food, but it's a service like nurse care consulting or Head Start education or whatever, does that figure into the 6.5 million?
Right, I mean,
Do you know what I'm saying?
no, it doesn't.
So,
So Head Start really provides, I think, no assistance to individuals. There's not a dollar amount on that. So, you know, Head Start just has all the costs, and we're providing a service, not direct money, where the largest one is their low income heating energy assistance program.
Right.
That's about 3.5 million, and I'm assuming anyway that is direct funds to the people to pay down their.
so I guess what I'm getting at is.
I see your
It's
point.
not all just
It's not all.
something tangible, it might be a service that you still have to pay that
And I think Head Start would be a perfect.
Staff or,
staff.
yeah,
mean,
That
Head
isn't just
Start-
sitting in an office for
right.
admin fee.
right,
I guess what I'd like to know is what the admin cost is to provide the services and tangible assets versus.
right. Right,
That's a good point, cause yeah,
exactly.
Head Start,
Because where would we be without this? Where would those folks that are receiving assistance or those services, you know what I mean?
Right,
Where would
Same
they-
thing with public health, you know, they might provide a service that doesn't actually buy a physical item, but it's
All spread out.
providing a counseling or
Like I smiles,
eye smiles.
I smiles.
we'll get back to you later, Jim.
It'll be just fine, I just have a few things, and so, thank you. Oh, hello,
Good morning.
you are right on time as usual.
Thank you. Sorry, I cut the bottom off. There's nothing on there anyhow, but, I cut it off.
Saving-
Saving face.
Paul,
Saving face.
Paul, before I forget, is the individual that was interested in that, bridge
Yeah.
over by, Ludwig's,
Ludwig's, yeah,
said it was just too short,
okay.
and so they're not interested.
Not
So if
interested.
you wanna cut it up,
We'll just
or
cut
do
it up.
whatever you want.
We'll get rid of it.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. Just
I mean, we
want
do
you to
come
know.
across longer ones, so we'll try to keep that in mind, you
How long,
know.
it's pretty short.
Yeah, it's only 40 feet.
City Charter Oak was talking about even being interested,
Really?
but I don't know, to go across Immigrant Creek.
It's not a very long bridge.
Work on that one either.
It's not a very long.
That's what I'm
bridge.
just saying, that's why I'm asking.
Let's just put it down low.
Yeah, I mean, this has a high concrete abutment, which allows it to be shorter.
Right.
So, but did anybody see the bridge failure in Baltimore?
Yeah,
Was there really?
Yeah,
Wow.
massive bridge
I
failure.
was just watching the documentary
Container
on the
ship.
Minneapolis Bridge last night.
Container ship hit the pier and just shattered it, and the whole 1.6 mile bridge collapsed in
1.6 mile
Baltimore?
bridge.
Baltimore, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually the Francis Scott Key Bridge. I've only been across it one time, but it's over a mile long.
It's
It's
pretty,
it's one of them bridges you drive across and you kind of tighten up your cheeks a little.
They said it happened like at 1 in the morning.
there's.
Yeah.
So there wasn't very many, was there anyone on it?
I did
I'm
not see
assuming
it.
there was.
There were some people, yeah.
Seven.
The water's 50 foot deep right there.
And cold.
Man, oh, man, oh.
Don't be afraid.
Were there any fatalities?
Oh, yeah.
It was a
I don't
big-
know how many, but I
It
know.
was one of the big.
Oh, they have it on film.
And he just run right
There's
in.
a, yeah.
I didn't know
and
that.
And I haven't been able to, you know,
They said that maybe they thought the ship might have lost power.
that's what happened.
It just
yeah.
drifted.
Is that what happened?
That's, yeah, supposedly, I mean, that's what.
Because they say with GPS that they all know, I mean, how tall those bridges are.
Everything.
It alerts the
Yeah.
boats, they have that.
Yeah, it's just a little up in the corner. I couldn't get that to the full
Oh,
video.
man.
It's
Oh my
So how
gosh.
many cars were on there, or did they?
I don't think they know.
They-
not very many, because it was at night, but thank God it wasn't a rush hour, but it's tragedy.
It just, it makes my heart go faster.
Yeah, to see that happening.
I think both like, I think all them
My daughter,
rivers like
she gets
that,
bridges
that
already,
feed into
so.
Philadelphia and Baltimore, I think they have to have harbor pilots on, so them guys all know them bridges, so I think it had to have been a mechanical thing, I
Yeah,
would think.
Oh,
yeah.
my God.
Yeah, they've been using the terminology pilots, so I kind of took me a while. Pilot?
Yeah.
Why do they need a pilot? Wouldn't you wanna?
Flying or dip.
You gotta
How
have
about
a
a
captain
captain
that knows how to run.
How about a captain, you know? But that all makes sense, you know, just lost power, so. Anyhow, oh shoot, I forgot to grab that Shelby County thing, but I kind of remember, what some of the key items were, but have a couple of, like, service line permits. And, so,
Paul, can you remind me what that fee is when Whipco wants to do that? Is it a flat fee then?
there's no fee.
No fee, no fee.
Yeah, we have not ever charged anyone a fee
Okay.
for doing a utility in our right of way.
Utility.
That's one of the things that Shelby County has,
Correct.
that, is negotiated on an individual side-by-side basis. You guys don't wanna do that.
Well, that'd be a disaster.
It'll be a
I mean, you
disaster.
just, it's a never ending, it's a never ending, I mean, you could establish some guidelines and say, you know, so many lineal feet of this or that, you know, and have a schedule, but you don't wanna negotiate.
But we just have a standard, if you damage something, you're paying.
Yeah, yeah, if they damage the road.
Otherwise, they're
take care
providing
of it.
services to our folks, so.
You know, that's the
The
debate we got
utility,
into.
yeah.
We'll get into it here a little bit further down the road, but anyhow, so we have those two, Dixon Construction, nothing new there, the building. You know, we're just kind of waiting for better weather to do the concrete slab and finish things off there. Great crew, they moved up to H Avenue, it's a level B road north of, Deloitte and, east, and so working on that. Bridge crew, probably gonna go work on that bridge over by Tom Ledwig's first because of the rain now. And then do the, Stilling Basin a little later on, cause once we start on the bridge, we wanna just get it done. You know, cause it's a lot of traffic and planning will be starting here soon, so we'll probably just do that and then go back and work on the Stilling Basin. And then the roadside crew will be starting up next week, so. I told Erdine, I said, man, how come you didn't have all those areas seeded? We got this nice rain.
You won't let me start.
He's good. He's out, he's got them all spotted and ready to roll, so
The job.
let's see, go on.
He did say I'd run into him at the gas station
Yeah.
a week or so ago. He just took it on his own accord to drive around And check the spots out so he knew what he'd have,
Oh,
was up
yeah,
against when he
yeah.
started.
Yeah.
Already started his list.
We,
Yeah.
oh, you got
Twice.
the Crooked Bridge opened up again,
Yeah, the one up there on
Yeah.
110th Street. Yeah.
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 good
So,
job on
It's
that.
straight, the bridge is straight, it was crooked.
Yeah, the
It's
alignment, the
straight
roadway's
now.
The crew
crooked.
fixed it, it's a straight bridge, it's just not aligned with the road.
That's-
Jerry was
that's
just
right.
telling me how hard it is during, harvest to get his truck around there and so.
It kinda is.
No, no,
Okay.
he's not.
And just a little history, just a little history.
He did not.
Yeah.
It's only a
It's a side-
9-ton bridge, Gene.
It was empty, his trailer is always empty when he goes over that. I wanna make that
Did you
very
rehearse that
clear.
ahead of this meeting?
But we,
Right into that one, didn't we?
yeah, anyhow,
Exactly.
Somehow
we got her
picked up
fixed
out
and all.
there.
You're good.
Looks great.
The item 4 there is 60,000 ton maintenance gravel, and so, you know, this is material that'll be spread on the road in 2025, so they'll be putting it up this summer. And then it'll be paid for after July 1st of 2025, and then spread on the road.
Motion to approve the purchase of the 60,000 ton maintenance gravel with 10% crushed limestone from Crawford.
Okay,
Second.
any further discussion? Now we'll call the motion, all in favor?
Right.
Any opposed? Chair votes aye, motion's been approved.
Boy, I sure like those guys.
Oh, they're great to work with. Yeah, great people, and it's just, it's made the gravel haul a lot nicer in the
By
summertime.
far.
Yeah, huge change. Just as a side note, if you know of anybody that would be interested in writing tickets, Terry Lally did it for us last couple of years. He's not interested in doing it this year, just no particular reason.
Mhm.
But
Once retired.
he's done, yeah. And so, you know, basically, we have to stay there, and then they have a scale on the loader bucket to measure how much goes into each truck, and then we write a ticket up based on, you know, the radio, the loader operator will call our guy and say, hey, you know, truck number 17's got 29.5 ton in it. And he pushes a button, and he goes to the next one, and then our guy writes up a ticket, date, truck, you know, the owner, and the amount. That way we can pay the truckers. We have to have some way to keep track of what they're hauling.
Yep.
And then we have the miles from there to where the point of delivery. So then when they get it there, our guy writes the number of miles on the ticket, and all those get stacked up and bought into Kathy, and then her and Kay process that, and that's how we pay our haulers. So we need somebody at the pit writing out tickets. And we've got a plan B, but if you know of anybody that would be interested, it's a long day, because they start up there at 7 in the summertime. Now they're even starting earlier because we're starting earlier. You know, so it can be a 12 to 13 hour day, because you got to get there before they start, get ready. And they're all writing tickets all day, and then after they get done, we come back. So, anyhow, just
That would
throwing it
be
out.
starting when? Is there a start date?
Probably late June.
Late June?
And probably last, because we'll have 50,000 ton. This year we have 50,000 ton at the Carlson pit, and then 35,000 ton down at Dedham. So it'll be 85,000 tons. So it could last, depending on weather and everything, a couple of months.
Okay,
You know, if you know somebody who's interested.
Full time for those couple of months.
Full time, yeah. Now, you know, we'll be
Monday to
working.
Friday.
We'll be working the 410s.
Monday to Thursday? Was it?
No, we still, the gravel haul goes 5 days a week.
Okay, all right.
But if this person just wanted to work Monday through Thursday, some of our guys that do the 410s would like to also pick up some overtime. You know, you got some young guys that just,
Oh, sure.
they want to work extra. And
Pay for their fishing boat.
you know, children,
Yeah.
young toddlers.
Expenses.
Expenses, yeah, and, you know, I applaud that, you know, and I said,
Yeah.
anything we can do to help you out, if I've got, and so we'll probably pick up the Fridays with guys
Okay.
that currently are full-time that wanna have that extra day. So, but anyhow, if you know of somebody.
Is there any technology that you see that would replace some of that? I mean, it's just,
You gotta be there, cause you gotta give the ticket to the hauler. You know, the guy in the truck pulls up, you hand him 2
It's like a
tickets.
duplicated
Right.
thing that you're writing.
Yeah, we buy these little books that have triplicate, and so you keep one in the book, 2 of them go with the hauler. When the hauler gets there, he gives one to our guy, and he keeps one.
Is that typical? Every other county does it too?
A lot of counties hire their own truckers, or I mean, they haul themselves, I should say, Dave. I don't know how else to keep track of
what the haulers do. And it's worked pretty good, other than the fact that you just gotta have somebody there.
The system works fine, I
It
just
works
didn't know if
great.
there was any, cause Stratford would have to have the technology, then every trucker would have to have the same technology to have stuff talking to each other, so.
Yeah,
To demand that
yeah.
on commercial haulers would probably be.
Right.
we would
Just
have-
knowing the kind of,
We give
you
them
know,
too
the
much.
haulers, the people you got in those trucks, this works really good.
Hey,
So just,
We gotta
I'm
lay
just
low
saying,
on
I'm just
truck
saying, this is
drivers right
simple,
now.
this is
Low
simple
tech,
and it works
low, yeah.
good.
They all
we
have.
actually.
There's no glitching, if something didn't.
Yeah,
Cloudy in the.
It's just reading the handwriting on the ticket, I suppose, sometimes.
Smithfield went to a.
yeah, and
nap.
Terry did a great job with it. I mean, he really did a good job. And then we had some other guys fill in last year.
Smithfield went to an app with all the truckers,
Mhm.
and it's,
Nightmare, I'm sure.
yeah, it's still a process. And we've had it for a year and a half. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just always teaching the new thing. I mean, it's, the younger truckers, they pick up on the other stuff so quick. But some of your older guys who
Yeah.
just like resist or forget. Garrett's cheaper pull. Can you imagine?
and we're finding the same thing out with timekeeping, you know, that we're doing now.
Yeah,
I mean, actually, it's going
yeah,
quite well, I think. But you know, you got some people who just
Jack like it.
are probably, Jack doesn't do it. But that's the point, you know, is you just have this kind of younger, this is great, they love it. And the same
Right.
thing with our fleet management, where we're doing everything, you know, the guys now are just ring with the phone and they put it in here, you know.
On their homepage.
Yeah, and so those two things we've just done, they're working really great, but not everybody embraces that. And so we just
Takes
kind
a
of work,
while.
we just kind of work through that. And so,
I've got
But-
tracking apps, but, you know, and it'll keep track of all that stuff, but man, it's just getting everybody in, and then the app will freeze up or. it's just-
yeah, but I think for right now, we're just gonna stay doing what we're doing. So
good.
If it's not
Uh,
broken, don't fix it.
we'll find somebody. But if you know, somebody might know of somebody who's looking for something
Yeah.
to do even if somebody wanted to do it for 3 or 4 weeks, you know, and then we had somebody else come and pick up, you know, you don't have to do it for the whole 4 weeks or
We could do
eight,
it, yeah.
8 weeks or 2 months. So anyhow, the other item is this, dust control, for, RNC. They're out of the Cumberland area and they're gonna advertise and promote a combination of this lignin sulfate and, which is like a tree sap, and then calcium chloride.
They've done it before in Crawford County?
They have not. This will be the first time, but I've heard good things about what they do. So, I mean, the customers will know.
Yep.
You know, we have already people calling in, oh yeah, whoever did it last year didn't do very good. And so if people ask you about dust control, all of these are gonna be on our webpage. Say, go to Crawford County webpage, secondary roads, and there'll be a dust control link and everything they need will be right there. Cause I'm not telling them who to pick. You know, they can pick whoever they want. So now we have 5 suppliers.
5 suppliers,
Well,
okay.
are they all priced about the same?
No, there's some variation.
Does it have their
Yeah,
prices
there's
listed on our
actually quite a
website?
bit. Everything, yeah, and so like this right here, this is their application. So if we have an application, what we'll do is we'll link it to their webpage in ours. They just click a link and it takes them right to their webpage and they can find the link to this. So they either that or if we don't have a link or whatever, we'll tell them, you have to call them to get their application and have them send it to them. See, a lot of these people are sending them out and people just see it and they think, well, they're the only ones. We tell them, well, no, there's 5 suppliers. You can actually go to our webpage and you can pick them off of there. So yeah, we'll just, this is another one here that we would want to approve and.
So they'll find the price of each person that's got an application with us on their application or how, or? will
Yeah,
that-
it's on their application. It tells
Okay.
here how much they charge per, lineal feet. And if they're still looking for something, they'll just have to give them a call.
Ty has a question.
Well, I don't have any questions. I'm just gonna make a motion to approve the application agreement
Second?
with RC Dust Control.
All right, any further discussion? Otherwise, I'll call a vote. All in favor, aye.
Alright,
Any opposed, same sign. Chair votes aye. It's been approved.
Okay, so, thank you. So that'll be 5 of them. And it is working, it's generated a lot of calls and stuff, but I think,
I just figured, I don't know how they fix it, but last year you had 3. Now we got 5.
Now we got 5.
Been trying to get everything coordinated with our blade people when these 5 groups come to town.
That's why we do this.
Yeah,
They have to have the list, you know, and I don't know if anybody else does this, but this is the only way I can figure out how to kind of bring all that together and say, we're gonna do it during this 10-day period in the spring and this 10-day period during the summer. You know, and everybody's, it worked last
Be the way
year.
some people are doing it then, if
Yeah.
if they're
Yeah,
amicable.
cause we don't wanna have blade operators jumping all over the place.
So we never get our regular work done.
Yeah, so, anyhow, so that's that. The Shelby County Utility Permit, I did read through that. I mean, the one thing that was concerning to me is and there's a difference between a private utility and a public utility.
Mhm.
And I will say that we do allow private utilities. We have since I've been here. Where people cross our road to get from a well on one side of the road to the other side of the road to service their house. Kelly Garrett's got a number of lines down there that run parallel to the roadway and some of the things that he's doing. We've got one right now, it's up, Casey Buck's gonna build a new house up by Dean Argensingers and, bought that piece of ground that I sold to him and he wants to run up that road with an electrical line. There's no good reason to not allow that. But we're not charging for any of that. And Aaron Gill's just right down the hill, okay, along Deloitte Boulevard, he's trying to get city water, which ends about, 800 feet. It ends on Deloitte Boulevard. He wants to get it to his house. And he's trying to figure out whether you can go in private right away or go in the road right away. And I don't know that I'd be opposed to having him put it in the ditch as long as it meets all of our requirements to get and this is new tax base for the county. I mean, I don't know that you want to stop that, but we have a history of doing it and not charging for it, whether it's private or it's public utility. So I think if you start charging for it, you have to be really careful that you're not discriminatory in that practice, because you will end up in a lawsuit if you are. And then if you are going to do that, you have to have a schedule. So that's one thing. It's just, I think it needs some discussion before you start charging. And, so the fundamental difference is private utility serves one individual, okay? And we got Terry Bacher, he was just in yesterday, he wants to cross, just like it said, get water from one side of the road to the other. We don't want to stop people from that, or, do you want to charge them for that permit? And so there's that, just to kind of give you a history of what we've done. And then there's a requirement of a bond. That's probably not a huge problem, but it would be a cost and a performance bond. The inspection, we had this discussion with the contractor that's putting the fiber in because we had such a mess last fall and they were destroying the road and they weren't doing what they were supposed to do. And we'd had some of that in the past. And I said, if you guys don't start playing by the rules, we're going to require that you have somebody out here at 80 or $100 an hour watching it all day long, and you're gonna have to pay for that. Well, but we're here to provide this service to the citizens, and they're right, and all of the costs that we add to it results in more cost to the people that they're trying to serve. They have to pass that cost on somehow. So you try to find this balance. Public utilities are just that. They provide a service to the greater good. Electricity, water, telecommunications. We all want those out there.
Yes, we
We
do.
want our citizens to have those.
Yep. At
And
the lowest
so
cost possible.
we accommodate that, and Iowa code basically says you will accommodate it as long as they are good stewards of your roadway. And so, but we don't, all we have the right to do is give them a permit. And so they're accommodation permits. We just give them a permit to occupy the space that we have an easement on that's owned by someone else. So,
Yeah.
so those are kind of some of the things that come to rise. There's one other thing, I can't recall it in there that I highlighted, but,
They had a fee, and I can't remember what it was.
well, that's the fee that I was talking about.
Yeah,
If you're
but
gonna charge a fee,
Do you recall how much it was or?
no, it's negotiated on
Yeah.
a case-by-case basis. You don't wanna do that.
You know how much they generate on an annual basis?
I don't think they've done it yet. I don't know of very many counties, when this Carbon Summit came about, I'm sorry, go ahead, Rick.
No, I was just gonna say that when 718, I think, came out, they talked about, hey, counties, you need to look for other ways to generate
Yeah.
revenue, so I'm sure that's probably
Yeah.
what had to go down that road.
Part of it was with the pipeline coming.
Yeah. And I'd heard all kinds of numbers, $5,000 for each crossing. I mean, that's a lot of money, you know, I mean.
Yeah. And right at this
So
time.
how
we
do
don't
you,
know if
how do
the
you
private-
carve them out and leave your, not anything, I don't know how to
Private
hold
company
it.
versus public, huh?
That's discriminatory and that's,
Well, I mean, yeah, you see how the distinction of private versus public utility.
Whatever
Okay.
you made, you spend on lawyer fees.
So
yeah.
I'm still trying to think this through my head, cause this private water line that's gonna go from
Right, from the well to your.
well to your cattle tank across the road, so your cattle have water to drink on the other side of the road. Is that, cause then it becomes a private crossing, cause it's, the water is at a, that's what I'm trying to say, how do you carve that out?
We got those all over the county.
I know we do, but if I set in a private versus public, cause then it becomes, cause it's only serving as farmers' cows on the other side of the road, but yet, as a county, we recognize that his cows need to be served, need water as well.
And technically, he owns half the property.
Well, he might own.
He owns it, actually, he owns all of it.
Yeah,
We're just giving him a permit to put it on, in a space, he owns all the property.
That's correct.
And that isn't always the case.
No.
But generally it is, where they own on both sides of the road.
Right.
They actually own everything. We just have an easement to put a road there, so.
The only thing I'd worry about is any kind of destruction to the road, you know, that's the only thing I'm worried about. As long as the roads, after they're done,
There's a, yeah.
but would this be even a question if there wasn't a pipeline proposed coming through?
Probably not.
oh, yeah.
That's where I think it was spearheaded from.
And I think part of
I would agree
it had
with
to
that.
do
I
with
think we
in
should
that
plant some
domain.
trees.
I think part of it was in that domain, if you didn't want them on your property and you might be a way to.
Yeah.
Pauses. Just brought up at the engineers conference. I mean, what are the other engineers across the state saying?
That really hasn't been talked about much. I mean, I don't know, I think everybody's just kind of waiting to see what happens. I mean,
Wait and see.
I haven't spent any time on this, and I've told the people that bring in the permits, I said, I've got 2 binders sitting there with all kinds of stuff in it. I said, I haven't looked at any of them. Because we don't have a project, I'm just wasting my time.
Yeah.
So
But thank you for
currently, I mean, if
bringing
a
it forward.
public entity wants to do that, they do need to get a permit from you.
Yeah.
And that's all that's required.
They have to get an accommodation permit to occupy our right of way. You know, and so,
And those are available at your office? Is that where
it's online.
they? Some.
Yeah, and I always tell people that if you're, you know, so we're accommodating you to occupy our right of way, but if it's on someone else's property, you know, other than your own, you might wanna get a permit or an easement from them to do that as well. Public utilities don't have to do that, because the guy with code says they can occupy our right of way. You know, could become a problem if you vacate the road. Let's say you've got an electric line going down a roadway and you vacate the road, and all of a sudden the electric line's still there, but it has, you know, I'm not an attorney, but I believe they have prescriptive rights because they've been there for as long as they have been. And again, it's probably serving somebody who
Is on that farm.
owns the land. So it's generally not a problem. But, you know, just some
Thank you.
interesting stuff there that goes on that you probably want to think about. And again, if this project goes and you tell me, you know, maybe we're gonna go, and we're gonna watch those roads, Ty, to answer your question about the roads, we're gonna make sure that they get taken care of. Okay, they're gonna bore through most of them, which is pretty non-intrusive, and where they do an open cut on maybe a level B road or a very low volume gravel road, we're gonna make sure that's done right.
Good.
How close to the edge of the road are they putting those, the cable? I mean, is it?
The cables. So here's generally where we put it. Okay, the telecommunication and underground electric. We don't do a lot of underground electric.
I mean, I've just seen
But that's why
the
we put them,
stakes.
we
I
put
guess.
them right on the road. Okay.
The stakes that are out there now
Yeah.
are way on the edge of the road,
Mhm.
way on the edge.
So where we like to
Is that
put
where
it,
they put the,
Kansas City Chiefs.
we like to put it, you know, where the grass line is.
You're
your
right,
grass
that's
line.
where the-
We'd like to put it inside of that a little ways, okay, a few feet.
okay?
Because, and most, I mean, this is where we had some problems with the guys last fall. Because of the equipment they were using, it was kind of tearing that up and pulling that up, and it wasn't kind of kneading together. pull them back together. But generally what we'll do is we want it there, and then they bore underneath of all the culverts. Because we're not doing much with the top of that road, ever. If we do anything, we generally would add to it, put dirt on it. But if it's over in the ditch, then we have problems. Cause we're cleaning ditches and we're putting in culverts, so we put it right there in the edge.
Right.
And we bore under the culverts. We should never have to mess with that culvert or that cable.
How
Yeah.
deep do they put it on?
Generally 36 to 42 inches.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Do you keep a log of everything that's on every
we got
road?
a map of every permit.
Knowing how anal you are.
Yeah. Well, you have to, I mean, that's part of the permit then, is to track it, and then if you want to, oh, that's online right now or not, but our goal is to get all that stuff online, but, and that comes at a cost,
Yeah.
so, but, if you want, you could come down, you want to find out a utility permit, we've got a map by year, okay, that shows, broke down by electric, water, telecommunications, and whatever else it might be. And so you can just pull up that map, there's a permit number associated with it, and then you go and you can find the permit number, so it's all scanned and online, or, well, it's online, yeah, but it's all scanned in. Good. So, anyhow, that's kind of the thoughts on that. The Hungry Canyons had a meeting on Friday, and were rewarded $40,496 for that stilling basin on 160th Street. So it's nice to keep that.
Yeah. Good job.
And then the vacating at 273rd Street, that is up there by Scott Klaus's. It's up here.
Oh, it's up north.
Oh, yeah. It's right
That.
there. Okay. Wouldn't mind having a couple of you go out there with me and take a look at that.
Is that Scotty's place?
Gravel pit.
Yeah, it keeps going north there. It's a problem.
Place back there, any of the Uncle Scott's
Yeah,
uncle or
Pete,
something?
I think there's something, or had a place back there, but there's nobody back there now, and yeah, I told Scott, I think Scott's pretty much in favor, and Lloyd maybe, if we do.
What does it mean to vacate?
So what that is, when the road, the birth certificate of a road, okay, that gives rise to a road is the petition, okay? That's what we look for to say, okay, this is what was approved by the board, that's the birth certificate. And we take care of it. The death certificate is the final order vacating it.
Okay.
Okay, so, and what it says is that the petition gives us the right in an easement, then an easement follows, okay? It says we can be there to maintain a road. And the vacating is a final order saying that we relinquish any interest in it from here forward.
All yours.
Yep. So we just basically, we're done taking care of the road.
So will you put a road sign on it then?
We probably put gates up
Gates
on
up?
the end of it.
There's no houses on there, nobody's farming anything up
No.
there, it's just,
And we vacated lots of roads over the last 24 years. It's just, they're interested in doing it. But
I think at Tom Bruce's house, that road used to go all the way,
Double
all
yeah.
the way through and stopped at his
it
house. And
stops there, yeah.
they ended up just putting up fence and pushed it in and.
Yeah, and that could happen here too. And, the roads are for the public good, and if they see no public good in it, it's a dead end road, they own land, relatives on one side or the other, and they're just saying, we're just tired of people going back there and
yeah.
doing whatever they shouldn't be doing back
Yeah, when
there.
it's muddy, you always see those people trying to get through and just
Mhm.
there and a
Yeah.
mud.
So,
Yeah, I mean, if you want,
I've never.
whatever. I really.
it's froze. You get that, and you wanna go out there and take a look at it, a couple of years.
I'll go look at it.
So, shoot.
Double book yourself.
So, no, I mean, if you want it, it's froze now, but I don't think there's any real sense of urgency, but sometime, a couple of you wanna go take a look at it, we can. And then the last thing, I don't have it on here, but I wanna throw something else. As I'm doing the program and driving some of these roads. In 2026, okay, I'm programming this, okay?
Two-town Staley's?
Yeah. And, this was done in 08, and it was all done together. Okay, we did the overlay on it, and it was all done at the same time. So, as I look at this and I drive this, I'm thinking, you know, this is 24 feet wide from here to here. This is 20 feet wide. What if we did the pavement shoulders in overlay and then down here just did an overlay all at the same time? It kind of makes sense. Because then you don't have, you know, a person coming down this road getting to here and saying, gosh, I'm in a new county. You know how that is when you get to the county line sometimes, you know,
No,
state
no.
highways or whatever, but it takes it from one end to the other. I mean, it would be at, you know, 18 years old, an overlay is about a 20-year proposition, so it's within that realm. And I called Chris and we could get another $500,000 in the SDP, which would put us, so our next application would be about 2030.
How many inch? How many
It'd be
inches?
like a 2.5 inch. We wouldn't do very much. See, we did this in 2015 when we got the extra 10 cents. Dave Paulson, and he called us and he said, how about we just do it here? And we did. We did a 2.5 inch overlay on that. They didn't do a good letting because you don't have to, because that's considered maintenance.
Yeah.
And he had a contractor working, we just had him come over and we spent $1.3 million on that and just did it. That was in 2015. So if we did that, you know, our estimate right now is for about $5.25 million to do that. You know, this would be, you know, last year we spent about 2.2 on this, but that was a thicker overlay. More to that than what we would be proposing here. You know, in the realm of possibilities, it would push this then into a 2028 project. I know, I that's why I'm asking, okay?
Yeah, cause that and the yellow smoke up to Copper Ridge, I mean, I wanna make sure we keep them in the schedule.
This, I've actually got 2025 as a $350,000,
And we're gonna do like what we did down at
what we
Easton.
did down at Easton's, yeah.
Yeah,
You
and I was
know, and
talking to actually one of the residents on that, he said, can you put speed bump in, cause that'll be like nicer road now.
That's the downside of doing anything out there that isn't gravel. But, so it's just, you know, thinking about the long term, what makes sense. I know Kyle's sitting here, so that's right at my back door. so-
I'm gonna abstain on this deal.
But I'm just saying, and Kyle and I have never even talked about this, and he vouched for that, but I was driving this road last week with Tim,
Might have two of us abstaining from that.
and, you know, I just got thinking, you know, and I called Chris, and,
And
So
then
we
we
get
get
it.
abstain from that one.
yeah.
I had my thoughts on the through mile.
Just a thought,
I wouldn't abstain on the 3 mile stretch, that's my backyard,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna hear, well, it's always gonna get kicked down, like, this can's gonna get
That
kicked down
can-
the road,
that
it's
can's
been
getting
kicked down for the last
yeah.
15 years.
Now, well, see this, the SDP revenue, Chris won't care at all if we move that down the road further, if we move that down to like a 2028. You know, it's the age step money, the safety grant money.
Yep.
That we could get that, you know, pushes it out into the years and run the risk of, you know, what happens to that program there,
Yeah.
but, I mean, you could flip the two. If you want, it's just that, it was just a thought, or we just stay the course, do this, and go do that.
It does seem logical to redo the whole thing,
It does.
considering its age.
If I'm driving down the road, I see that all the
That's
time.
just my
you know,
comment, not my.
We're in the same county,
Right.
you know, this would have paved shoulders with no gravel shoulder. This would still have the same cross section as, it's 24-foot wide pavement. I don't know how we got that wide, but anyhow, I mean, the feel here would be a user of the road would just start, maybe come back and say, oh, wow, this is really nice. When they were originally done, they were done obviously at different times because they're completely different cross sections.
I just hate to get to like 28 and well, we got this other.
We got, yeah, I
Now
know,
it'll be
I know,
30 and-
yeah, and we don't know what happens, but,
But I get it, doing it all at once makes sense. It's just.
All right, so if you have to drive that first 6-7 miles with anything wider than a car, it's not fun.
I don't like
It
it.
is what it is. It is, I'm used to, I mean,
yeah.
I'm used to it, but it meeting another truck Or tractor,
Yeah.
that's always,
But
the better roads.
I understand that both sides of it, so I know the city of Charter Oak would probably like to see it put in sometime too.
Yeah, I know, by the church right there.
Yeah, and I think they're actually trying to fix that extension up now that.
And we've got a lot of the design done for this, you know, I mean, because we were hoping for the SS4A grant, I just, you know, even the H-SIP application that we submitted, we didn't score as well as some of the others. Because we just don't, again, we got safe roads, generally speaking, I mean, we're just not seeing,
Yep.
you know.
So you don't even think if
relative
we reapply for the SS4A, probably
terms,
not?
we're gonna have a good chance.
Yeah, see, then,
With the no fatality.
I don't want any
fatalities, just, and
Yeah.
it's just, I don't wanna spend more money. I mean, I felt pretty good about our first one, but then when you start comparing it in a relative terms to, cause that rated high in our local road safety plan, but when you start to comparing it to all the other roads in all the other counties in the state of Iowa, it's pretty safe.
fatalities.
Don't have to know right now, but we will have to here in another week or so, cause I gotta get a program put together. But,
I'm suspicious.
yeah.
When you do, Paul, large paving projects, I guess like that that'd be just with county dollars? Is that how that?
No, see, this is a combination of several different funding sources.
Okay,
That project would be Highway Safety Improvement Program money, which is a safety program that they have. Surface Transportation funding, and that highway safety funding is that you have to apply for that. It's kind of a grant that you get, you know, that they take a look at, you know, all the applications.
What did we get, what was the one where you got the $500?
That was TSEB. Yeah, transportation. This is highway safety. So anyhow, to answer your question,
Rest of
Craig,
that can wait.
this would come from 3 different funding sources. Okay,
Jason coming in.
the safety grant money,
They're coming in here.
the money we get through Region 12, which is the surface transportation grant money, and then our farm to market.
Three of them.
And I can give you this if you want. It'll show right here here's our annual farm to market allocation, our HSIP and our STP. And then you add all those up, it gives the revenues, and these are running balances.
okay.
So you can keep that if you want.
Okay.
But,
Can I run one thing by you before you leave?
Yeah.
This was brought to my attention, so I peeked. And we'd have to go out and look along the river, Boyer and then over east. Some farmers have kind of clearing their trees, instead of putting them in a burn pile, they push them to the edge of the river, and my only concern is could that affect our bridges in a heavy rain, water flow
Oh, yeah.
situation?
I have no control over that.
Well, that's what I'm asking, is there something we can do, I mean, or is it just
Yeah.
something that this concerned? You know, I mean,
They could get a hold of the DNR or the Corps of Engineers.
and I don't wanna make a big war on something, I
Yeah.
just do worry about our bridges.
There's a lot of things that are going out there that worry me from our road standpoint that aren't done on private property.
Okay.
But I,
Just thought I'd run that by, I didn't know, I
Yeah.
mean, I could've did it
Yeah.
private, but I wouldn't have.
yeah, so, if that's what anybody called in, I just tell them that there's District 4 office in DNR or the local NRCS office. That's where they should start.
Okay.
Yeah, they call that. People call that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
Anyhow,
I'm
yeah.
not trying to get anybody in trouble, they
Yeah.
probably think they're just doing that, but they might not be thinking about what we think.
yeah.
Do you think that's permanent or do you think that's just temporary?
Well, it's
Where the trees get
temporarily,
pushed,
Yeah.
it's temporarily permanent.
Okay,
it isn't pushed into a pile, how's that, where we're gonna burn it?
If you wanna know how bridges fail,
Just kinda,
oh,
most all
I see.
bridge failures are because of lack of support, because of undermining.
Undermining.
What happens is that cluster of trees gets caught on a bridge pier, it puts stress on the pier, and then it also causes all these eddies, and it causes scour, and then it undermines your foundation, and the bridges fail. That's how most of them fail.
well, that was my concern.
Or they get hit by a ship.
Well, that's
Or they get hit by a
bad.
boat, yeah.
Are you gonna stick around for this? Watch the kids do the deal?
I sure can, yeah.
Do you?
Annette,
Give up your chairs.
Yeah.
bring them in, bring them in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there might be some left over, just depending.
Come on in around here. Who wants a chair?
Who wants to be supervisor for the?
They're on there. All right, somebody.
Leaving this one.
Here, you can have mine over here.
Who wants to, the chairperson?
All right, get up there.
Go, girl.
I've got all my stuff back here, so just have a seat.
It's still in behind you.
Let me get out of here.
Was the walk cold? Yeah. There's more room, keep filling in.
Every year. Yeah.
Up in the shade, but then we're kind of getting away when we go.
Well, look at me, your face is around the camera. Look like this. It's like this. Jamie, show the camera now.
Good group.
Oh, no. Emma, let's
Thank you guys for letting us come today to do the proclamation to declare April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. The kids are gonna read the proclamation to you, and then afterwards, if you guys can vote it in. We want every child in Crawford County to have a happy childhood, and that's what we're here for. I'm gonna turn it over to Mrs. Mulbauer. All right. You guys know your part? You got your part? Ready?
yeah, I got it.
All right, Damien.
In the calendar year 2022, the Iowa Department of Human Services confirmed founded 51 cases of child abuse and neglect. The different types of child abuse and neglect investigated included denial of critical care, dangerous substance, physical abuse, and the presence of illegal drugs in child system in Crawford County. Child abuse and neglect is a serious problem that can be prevented.
We, the children, are the most valuable resource, and we will shape the future of Crawford County.
Child abuse and neglect directly harms children, and it increases the likelihood of long-term physical and mental health problems. Alcohol and substance abuse, continued family violence, and criminal behaviors. Child abuse and neglect occurs when people find themselves in stressful situations and don't know how to cope. The majority of child abuse cases stem from situations and conditions that are preventable and engage in caring community. Every child can have a great childhood by making sure each family has the support and education they need in raising their child in a safe and trained environment. Effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships created among social service agencies, schools, faith communities, civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community. Community members must make every effort to promote programs and activities that benefit children and their families. Therefore, we do hereby proclaim April as Child Abuse Prevention Month and call upon all citizens to increase their participation in building caring connections with families and preventing child abuse and strengthening the community in which we live.
Great job. Your vote call.
I want this chair, and it's okay.
We need a motion to approve the proclamation.
Yeah. I'll make the motion to approve April as Child Prevention Month.
I'll second.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's been proclaimed. All right. Good job, kid.
Good job.
Yeah.
Our most
Yeah,
valuable
official.
resource. Like,
Thank you for coming.
And can we get the supervisors in for a picture?
You wanna go out to the step?
Oh, you wanna go out to the step?
Before you leave, we have a treat for them.
Oh, yeah.
But we have a treat for you guys. We have to be extra nice to Miss Mulbauer the rest of the week.
Oh, this is our last day, so we just gotta finish our life.
That's pretty easy task, isn't it? 7 days to do it.
Alright, so do we want to go out on the step to take
Go out on
the
the step.
pictures?
Yeah,
And then-
and then they come back and get cookies.
Yeah.
Thanks for leaving me in duty.
I'm trying to grab my stuff.
It's gonna have to be in.
Bro. I feel like a supervisor now. I'm a supervisor.
Good long weekend. Go get the picture, Todd. Oh, there's some monsters. So let's have peanut butter. We gotta be careful.
Okay.
Not really.
Laying these out to keep out of trouble.
Yeah. Keep them separate.
There you go.
They are a no peanut butter school.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's interesting, a lot of stuff goes on.
There it is.
If you ever have any questions, go ahead and take it.
All the moving required.
Everybody get the picture.
I like to think so. I got some other things I gotta do. Yeah.
I miss this.
I don't know if we need that answer to that
Have fun, yeah.
Every Tuesday.
Probably have a monster. Monster.
I'd rather have
I'd
chocolate.
rather have a chocolate chip. I
Okey
think
dokey. I throw $5 at Jay already.
But eyeball these all morning.
I forgot to get me my coffee this morning, so I'm gonna,
Well, that's done.
yeah. It's not the same proclamation we had. We'll get it signed.
Well, they got a
Where's
little
it at?
louder this
Do
year.
you have
Last
it?
year they were really
I
thin.
do. I put it,
What is it, where's that class from? I guess they,
Fifth grade, Broadway Elementary.
Broadway, yeah.
here you go, Ty, or Dave, thanks for picking us up these.
Fifth grade.
I would have picked them up and I
wasn't thinking about it till late last night when I
I know.
texted you.
I know.
thanks for doing that, Dave.
Thanks for thinking about it.
Gotta sign the
You're a good man.
Yep, proclamation.
I think I have something.
Finally found your calling,
All right.
Cookie Monster.
cookie purchaser.
I'm a kind of, I like cookies. So I get on the, with my Fubo channel or whatever, and with my icon on there, it's always just, didn't have a picture. Not as a picture.
I do.
And the kids checked it. Cause Paul hides them all over the house, having a cookie monster.
No,
That's for the
to
budget.
be all honest, Gene's idea was cookies.
Yeah, whenever you wanna do it.
Good idea.
Yeah, well, I was gonna bake them, but then I.
Your other meeting got in the way.
Yes, that's right. So, we've got that. So we need to, discuss and take action on setting time, date, and location for public hearing for budget amendment, for fiscal year 23-24.
I'd make a motion to set the date and time, the date being April 16th, time 10 a.m. in the boardroom for the public hearing on the budget amendment.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any further discussion on the time and date for the amendment? Otherwise, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Chair votes aye, set for time and date. Next is discussion, take action, set time, date, and location for public hearing for proposed budget for 2025. When do we want to do that?
April
I
20.
think April 23rd would work, wouldn't it?
April 23rd at 10 a.m.
I might be in Phoenix, moving my daughter home, but.
It's okay, as long as we have a quorum.
Yeah.
I'll be here.
Be fine, let's
I
plan
have
on
my
it.
plans of
10
being in
a.m.
for
All right, we need a
Arizona.
motion.
10 a.m.
Getting late.
10 a.m. What I have down.
10.
10,
In the boardroom.
boardroom.
So move.
All right.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second, to have the public hearing for the budget year of 2025 at, April 23rd at 10 a.m. in the boardroom. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Board, votes aye, it's been approved. Thank you. All right, so we have a take action item on appointment of Charter Oak Township trustee Carla Doyle.
Correct.
Correct, she's, called up and said she wants to do that, right? All right,
I talked to her, I think.
I
okay,
talked to him.
all right. Do we have a motion to appoint Carla?
So move.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Now I'll call the motion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Chair votes aye. That has been approved. Congratulations, Carla, and thank you for stepping up. All right, so we've already, done the proclamation for the, Child Abuse Month. So we needed, we've already voted, so I'll just sign it. That was done.
All right, Jake here.
All right, so we have Jake. Come on up. You have something to share about phone line?
Yeah, just to kind of give you a rundown of some of the pitfalls and issues that we've been having and why things have been much later than we anticipated regarding the phone changeover. Basically, a lot of it's been because Frontier's been dragging their feet on a lot of issues.
Really?
Yes, as far as specifically, The number one issue that we've been having is what's called port over. Port over is when, Frontier releases our phone numbers to another entity, okay, that we determine what we want, whoever that entity might be. In this case, we're allowing Katie to control those numbers on our behalf, okay? And the process, during a typical port over is the Frontier release, but we submit paperwork saying, hey, we want these set of numbers released, to one vendor or the other. Don't think it really matters as long as they're both in the know. And then from that point on, Frontier goes through its process and says, okay, these numbers are going. And do we have any additional issues with that? And if there is, they usually institute what's called a pick freeze, okay? I don't know what pick stands for, to be exact, just to be straight up, but what it does is if there is any of the numbers, no matter what the collection is, if one of those numbers has got a pick freeze on it, it kills the port over in its entirety, okay? So, and then we have to go through and find out, the reasoning why Frontier said no to a particular number. The problem is that Frontier was never telling us what the number was. So I actually had to have like an hour conversation with Frontier back in February to find out which number in our initial port over was the problem, okay? Got that process taken care of, and then we had a second port over, and this was the one that was the big bulk. Those were the fax numbers that we had to cut over first. The big bulk number was, we constantly got pushed back, and this was occurring during the spring conference. And it took, I kid you not, our representative, the vendor that's working with us, Frontier, amongst another collection of individuals, to get all those numbers sorted out and pre-authorized, so to speak, so a pick freeze would not be put on any of those numbers that we're trying to port over. Or let me rephrase, all the numbers that we have from that point on are not gonna institute a pick freeze, okay? So,
In theory.
yes, and that has all gone through swimmingly since that portion. Now, the only exception to that rule is the fact that we did not cut over the treasurer yet because of property tax season. She didn't want to go through the training, on having to train her folks and still try to take property taxes at the same time, okay? So the treasurer itself is not cut over at this time. They are the only department in the county at this point that is not cut over from Frontier, okay? They're still using the equipment in the back, and I'm trying to push really hard to get that done before April 6th, because that's when the next billing cycle starts, and that's when our month-to-month starts, okay? Now, that's just the sales side I've had issues with, like trying to get service cut over. We've also had the outage for 3 days, a week before conference. It was from the 6th to the 8th. That was a Frontier issue. And in fact, we found out that actually went as far as the administrative lines to our local law enforcement. And that's not just the sheriff, that was with Denison PD as well. Because of that outage, the previous outage that we had back last fall, I submitted an IUB complaint, and I think we're all aware of that one. I did bring the board into know with that. And the IUB came back and said, we've registered your complaint, work it out with the vendor, okay?
Really?
Thank you for letting me know that. I didn't
Yes.
know that was an option.
Basically, that was.
We haven't tried that already.
Yeah, so this time around, I went and with the outage, because 3 days is ludicrous for us to be down and having phone issues, okay? So I contacted the FCC, I contacted IUB, and I contacted the state reps, Jason Schultz and Steve Holt, regarding these issues. And I did have some conversation with Mr. Holt, and he's aware of the issue. But I did not get anything back from Jason Schultz, okay? IUB, I never got anything back from, nothing. But I did get something back from the FCC, and it was basically similar to what IUB told me last fall.
Registered it, and I'll figure it out.
Yeah, so, but the only good news out of that whole fiasco with IUB and FCC is Frontier was set up a little more straight to us and said, okay, we'll work with you on this and that, and work with you on trying to get this resolved, okay? The outage itself, apparently the reason why it was down for a day, according to Frontier, was there was a lot of finger pointing. Who was responsible? Yeah, and I'm still trying to figure out to this day why a fiber splice down in Des Moines affects Denison, Iowa regarding the phone lines here. That just that's ludicrous to me too, because
Well, might have something to do with their 911 service, because all 911 calls go through Des Moines and then they get kicked back here. So
well, 911 went unaffected though. So I got nothing for you on that one.
you couldn't call local in Charter Road.
You couldn't?
678.
Okay,
I think you could call in town back and forth.
yeah. Well,
But I couldn't call the gas station.
right. Frontier customers could call Frontier customers, but it's called being toll isolated is the term.
Yeah.
And everybody else from the outside world could talk to each other, okay? So, and that includes long distance. But if you were a Frontier customer, you could only dial other Frontier customers that were local. And that's been the same thing with the previous outages too over the last year. And I did make this known to all the entities that we've gone through 4 outages in the last year, once per season, it seems like. And I haven't really seen any change. So as far as addressing the issue. So that's the service side, that we've been dealing with and fighting with a little bit. Now granted, the outage obviously is no longer affecting us. Well, the outage was fixed at the end of day on the 8th, I believe it was, that Friday. Okay, it was like at 3 o'clock, 3:30. Well, okay, that's great, fine and grand, but business was pretty much over for the courthouse at that point. So like I said, that's the service side of things that I've been dealing with Frontier, okay? Now I'm going to deal with, we've had an issue with the billing side. And I'm mentioning this, and Terry is well aware of it. I'm not a happy camper because I still can't really make sense of the bill. As you know, we've elected.
From Frontier or
From Frontier,
Okay.
okay? The month-to-month bill under I'm sorry, I'm vouching for you here a little bit, Terry. The belief is that the $1,200 for the PRI that we're paying for wasn't supposed to start taking effect until March 24th, okay? If you look at the bill, to my understanding, no one has really from Frontier explained it well. They prorated, like, they took the month-to-month cost and they prorated it for the month, okay? And then kind of like subtracted they did it in reverse is what it amounts to. Like if you were going to a normal company and and you had a contract with them, you get billed for all the way to the 24th or to the end of the contract, or if it's in the middle of a billing cycle, and then the rest is prorated out at the month to month. Okay? They did backwards. They prorated the month-to-month portion of it, or they went the full month for the month-to-month, and then prorated it out accordingly in some goofy backwards math that
So it's a lot more than what,
yes. It's $1,653,
and typically we pay how much a month?
$1,100,
Wow.
okay?
So for a short month.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why I wanna get the treasurer cut as soon as I can, okay? Cause like end of month, I already asked Sherry for a date, and that's gonna be April 2nd, that we're trying to push for, okay, to get it reported over, okay? With property tax season being,
We just need to
It just
do.
has to happen.
yeah,
Well,
Just
is there a
try.
big
Because it's
Just
costing
do
us a lot of
to
money.
it? I mean, is this learning, the training on it, is a big deal, really? To
Well,
me,
last
your
three
phone
last
number
minute
just changes,
training.
you pick up the phone and say hello.
right. Well,
What's
I
the
mean,
training
it's a
part of
different
it?
phone, okay? It's a little bit different. There's a
Okay,
little
alright.
different,
Well,
nuances
right.
with that. And I mean, it's not like, I mean, it has all the same functions. It'd be like jumping into a different car versus the one you have been driving for 10 years.
The buttons are different
Yeah.
placed, but
Yeah.
they give you a nice instruction sheet,
Yes,
so.
yes.
Yeah.
And
it's not that big a
and
deal.
granted, I never got into discussion about the training portion of
It's
it.
not.
Cause when we were initially doing this whole process, I knew Tony was gonna come in. I know Tony was gonna train our folks for it, okay? That was beyond question. But I got the idea, shortly, about a couple of days before we started this training, and I said, you know what? And I think, I hope I brought the board in on this, but I thought, I'm just gonna have the departments delegate out who they're gonna send, and I have training starting at top of the hour from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, and it continues the next day. And then when they come in, they get a phone, we'll plug it in and everything, and it goes, and then they take it back with them. And they get to have training on their phone, so they know how their phone works.
Okay, yeah.
So, but that was never brought to Sherry's attention. I didn't intend that, because I didn't formulate that training plan until 2 days before the training. So, because I didn't know I was gonna do it that way, because I didn't know Katie was willing to stay that long of a period of time, an entire afternoon and an entire morning training. So, but yeah, currently, the current state of affairs at this point is the entire county is cut over with the exception of the treasurer, okay? And obviously the sheriff. Sheriff is not part of it's never been part of our phone system. But everybody that was part of the courthouse's phone system, the old one, has been cut over with the exception of the treasurer.
Is the sheriff still Frontier then?
Yes.
Have they ever talked about switching over? Have you talked to them?
I have not talked to them about it. I mean, Rob Bradley pretty much runs that whole bill. I mean, I can have a
I just was
discussion.
curious.
Yep.
I mean, if it saves them money and doesn't cost us more.
Well, you gotta keep in mind,
Well,
you gotta keep in mind that, you know, I'm not sure about the capabilities of the system regarding E911.
Oh.
I mean, as far as how those function within it, and I know also that Rob Bradley just purchased a new phone system for the,
It might be a little bit different animal down there.
well, not only that, but you've already given funds for that last fall. Why would you wanna, you know,
Yeah, great point.
I agree, yeah.
so,
Great point. I
so-
forgot about
Did
that.
you get any new info from Gary Jones in cybersecurity?
yes, I did, and the cybersecurity is per instance, so.
$1,500 fee is per instance.
Yes, for him to come on site to do the training.
That'd be 0 times.
So there's no additional frills or things with that $1,500.
One time, show up, do it.
Yep, that's it.
Did he say how long it takes? How does he reach out? How does he get all the employees to do it?
Well, he would be on site here and he would perform via video conferencing, or not video conference, but use our setup downstairs in the conference room. And we would just have to let the department heads know in advance when this training was going to occur and for them to attend.
So he would do it over Zoom?
No, he would be
Oh, he
here.
would be here?
Yes,
Okay, cool.
but I figure if he needs to do any sort of display or anything, he probably wanna do it down there. It's the biggest, it's the largest room. You can get the most bang for your buck.
So he'd do multiple in a day, he'd
So you're
do,
getting all of them in the room at the same time.
because we're not all fitting in there,
Right, so,
I'm pretty sure.
I never talked to him about doing multiple instances within one day. I mean, I don't see why that wouldn't be an issue.
He's not gonna charge 1,500 every time.
Every class period, I
Otherwise, we need a
can't,
bigger space to do it in.
yeah, so, I mean,
That school.
no kidding. But I don't see. It seems logical that you could have multiple class.
So,
Hmm?
give me what you think that training would look like. I mean, what is he gonna cover?
Well, I mean, he's gonna run the gamut, okay? He's probably gonna go through phishing. He's gonna probably look at multi-factor authentication options, explaining why you need these things. He's also, those are the two big ones, okay?
But in the county employees every day, 8 hours here, do they have to have verification for
Yeah.
different things?
Certain things.
Yes, absolutely. Multiple systems, and the big one that we have is our email system. There's actually multi-factor authentication for every account that we have in email. The difference is that the reason why no one goes through it here in the county is because I've whitelisted the IP address. So if you're logging in from here, you don't have to go through multi-factor, okay? But if you were,
I don't go through multi-factor.
so, And I think that the actual application doesn't require it. Okay, if you have Outlook on your machine, you don't have to go through that. I've been
That's why I
finding
don't
that.
have, I sign in and I'm done.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're doing the web-based portion, like if you were to access the web, like a Gmail or Hotmail or a Yahoo, you'd absolutely have to go through that process if you were out and about. So.
We kind of get a lot of training now though through them little classes you get.
You're absolutely right in a sense, but it's not, it doesn't fulfill our like insurance requirements.
Oh, okay. I gotta say, the other day I got a call from the IRS. They wanted to dip tanks. They said it's something they do to truck lines. And who are you?
Right.
He said, well, I'm the IRS. I said, well, how do I know that? You called me. I mean, so I'm overly pertinent and I blamed you.
That's fine.
I'm overly
I'd rather you be a bit more vigilant, you know, and I've never heard of the IRS contact anyway.
I mean, one thing
Well, they
that,
actually did.
that we
so.
did bring up, Dave and I brought up at the IT meeting was,
Mhm.
is Jake qualified to give
That's
this
a question
training?
I just got from somebody.
And
else.
I didn't feel
He
entirely
didn't feel
comfortable,
that.
because, I mean, I'm not a cybersecurity specialist. I am an IT director. I am a general contractor, okay? You're asking for a plumber, okay? Is what it amounts to, so.
Did you have any, reach out to our insurance company if they had any direction?
I have not done that yet. I've been a little too preoccupied with the phone, but I did see that. That's on my list, so.
Okay. You think you
Most of
could
insurance
acquire
companies
the understanding or the know-how to teach a cyber, and since you say you're a general contractor, well, why don't you just focus on plumbing?
I mean, I could do training. I mean, there's nothing saying that
Right, I
that's,
mean,
I think general training would be,
so,
Yeah,
But-
could you go to,
Right,
you could send me-
yourself and then you administer it here?
right, that's
I mean,
what I was thinking.
Can the DOM do it? Can't we get it through them or no? I mean, we do, my election portion, we do it.
Right,
My staff,
Secretary
we
of
do
Staff,
it. All
yeah.
the auditors' offices in the state
yeah,
do cybersecurity training
Through,
Secretary of State.
through the DOM do it, actually, the
Yeah, yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
OCIO. They used to be known as the
OCIO.
OCIO, now
Now
it's
Dom do it.
DOM, DOIT.
Yeah.
Dom do it?
Yeah,
Do it,
that's, yeah.
That's their
So
acronym.
That's part of the
Yeah.
governor's restructuring, so.
Yeah,
I think it's money.
I mean, I could solicit them and see what they have to say.
and it
Um,
might be the right price too, just.
it could be better, yeah, absolutely. Because we've had them sit in before. I don't know what their pricing is as far as
Yeah,
educational
or maybe they just
seminars.
have like a web-based training, cause that's what we did.
Is it?
right, that would be
Okay.
nice, and then each person could go on there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and then maybe
There's-
get
You
it
get the
updated.
record from them that
Mhm.
these
Right.
people did it, these people need to do. and-
Right,
I'm just concerned with, maybe Gary Jones will be phenomenal, but how do you get all of our employees that you need
Right.
into one room and get something
Yeah.
out
I know,
of it?
and I didn't,
That
So-
would've done us too, you know.
before we let that contract expire, I wasn't, because it was covered underneath that contract with Gary and Jones.
it's done.
That's,
Yeah, I know it's done. I know that contract is set sail. Okay, I get that. It was, when I was initially talking about this whole cybersecurity thing,
why didn't Gary tell us that?
I don't know.
For us to
But
find
my-
out that he offered a
I was gonna have
service
him come in twice a year, so one half the employees could do it, and then the other half, you know?
That should have sailed.
Yes, it has, so.
So physically, the phones, everything worked fine on Thursday, I think you said the phones?
The cutover was Friday afternoon, and to my knowledge, I mean, we've got some bumps and things, growing pains. We've had some, what's the word? We're truing up the system is what it's gonna come down to, okay, and that's what Tony is doing here right now. I don't know if you've seen him, but he came in today. He wasn't able to make it yesterday, so he's coming in. He came in today. But for things like caller ID not showing up right, that was from the old system. We're truing that up a little bit, making sure the right department shows up when calling out, things along those lines. We've had some call flow where we wanna, certain people are not they're not ringing at the appropriate
Well, I think
times.
the attorney was having a problem.
And-
This guy was in.
And we've got, yes, 5609, apparently did not make the port for some reason or another. We're looking into it. and that was the only number that was missed.
Okay. That
Um,
was Joni, right?
yep, that's Joni, yep. And Tony's looking into it and we're gonna resubmit it with the treasurer and hammer that out,
Okay.
so. But yeah, that was one of the big ones that we're still trying to figure out if that was, we don't think it was on our side, we think it's on Frontier, but we don't have anything definitive stating that, so.
Terry, is there a noticeable change in your office with the new phones? So
It's so
quiet.
quiet.
Yeah,
Is the phone's not ringing?
well, because,
We did some auto attendant things.
yes,
Oh.
So people will hear, well, you did, you
Yeah.
heard the other
Very-
day.
Very nice gentleman that will answer the phone for you.
yes.
Does he have an accent?
No.
Oh, darn.
What kind
I
of
could have put
French?
in for that British.
Do you want a French one or do you want a Scottish?
You can, I
You can-
know.
Like an Irish
I'm
or a Scottish
an
one, yeah.
Australian
The
myself.
phone
but-
system is capable.
How does that work, I guess, versus the old phone?
Sorry, go
So
ahead.
it gives you, I don't know the order off the top of my head. It'll say like clerk of court, press 1, auditor, press 2, treasurer, press 3.
Mhm.
And so in whichever office you choose, there's probably yet another attendant that'll get you to the area in that office. So like, for instance, the treasurer, she has 3 main departments,
Mhm.
tax, motor vehicle, and driver's license. And then you can then choose which you want. It rings the appropriate line.
Okay.
Theirs has a Swiss attendant.
It does.
Wow.
One of the big changes that took place
Yeah.
was 3045 was actually attached to a specific individual within the auditor's office, and that was the reason why there was so much noise. We transitioned 3045 to an attendant, and we gave that individual a new phone number, and we also did 6002 is how you ring the auditor now.
So,
Don't worry, don't remember that.
I have to check it. So on the website, you could still call.
You can still get to me by 3045.
Yeah, you can still get a direct line,
You just have to
2178 to the treasurer, I think it is, and 6002 to
Yeah,
the,
Okay,
those are still there.
once I
I
call
keep saying
that number,
6,002.
it's gonna break down
You
to
have
3
to
different.
Not, that is at the department head's
Goes out on Zoom,
discretion.
or out on-
Okay,
or
Okay,
meeting everybody
Like, for
call
instance,
it.
the recorder, there's no breakdown there.
Okay.
But like for the treasurer, because she's got motor vehicle driver.
because I
Well, I
am,
know
you
that
know,
number
as
anyway.
And she's probably got an auto
it's
attendant
annoying to
within
call
some of
and
those
again,
lines
keep
too,
getting
I
transferred to
imagine.
a different, press 1, press
Right.
2, because
Yeah.
you just, you wanna talk to a human being eventually.
Yeah,
Right.
so, like I said, that's a little bit department head discretion there, but,
Okay, so they could call, and if they're calling the recorder,
Mhm.
Sarah's gonna pick up the minute that they call.
yeah, someone, it may not be, it's not Sarah directly, it's, Jamie that picks up.
Okay, all right, I just used.
Yeah,
it
because,
then.
we don't like to ring the department head immediately,
No,
just
yeah,
because.
no, So that's gonna ring her phone.
Yes,
So if I call, let's use her office. If
Yep.
I dial the number
Right,
that's
yeah.
on our website for the auditor,
yes,
Delegate.
Megan's gonna pick up.
yes, I
Or
believe
if
so.
you decide to have your phone
I-
answered by your attendant first.
Do
attendant
you have an
person.
attendant for you?
Just the 3045 went to
Yeah, and
attendance,
that's the big
and that's
attendant.
it.
That's not,
Okay, so there's only one big attendant.
So yeah, like if you
Okay.
Google Crawford County Courthouse, it's
Yep.
gonna come up 3045.
Okay, and that's gonna be the attendant that
Yes.
has reached the Crawford County.
Put it on speaker.
Right.
To speak to
Calling it.
yada, yada, yada. Oh, here we go. Thank you, Kyle.
Hello, you have reached Crawford County. For clerk of court, press 1. Motor vehicle and driver's license, press 2. Treasurer and property taxes, press 3.
Interesting.
Assessor, GIS mapping, zoning and planning,
Sounds like
press
Tony.
4.
Press one of those numbers once and see what happens.
5.
Call the
Terry.
auditor.
Engineering and secondary roads, 6.
I don't even remember.
Auditor,
This number, random number.
One.
Clerk of court.
Yep.
See, we put the auditor at the bottom of the list.
I noticed that. Had to go through the whole courthouse to get to you guys that
Wow.
day.
Should have been alphabetical order.
It
I
is
just,
sorta reverse.
I think that my question, what I'm trying to drill down into.
She got the
is, you know,
reverse
for
Uno
us
card.
old timers, when I talk to somebody, I'm trying to get to the bottom of how long will it take for me to actually get to talk to a person.
Depends on the department you're
I
calling.
hate that answer.
Sorry.
Well, and if you look up but if you do look up it depends on
It does.
The treasurer's got the auto attendant, the recorder does not.
Okay,
So if you dial directly to the recorder, you're
Uh-huh.
gonna get Jamie.
Okay,
If you dial directly to the assessor, you're gonna get, I think it's Maddie right now.
okay.
So, and the same with secondary roads, you're gonna get Kathy, okay?
But
But,
that attendant broke down the treasurer's office too.
yeah, I noticed that, I didn't expect
Okay.
that.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, there were 2 listings. I'd forgotten about that part.
So,
Wow.
Well, there would be for the treasurer.
It's okay, changes
Well,
are.
there's 2 for each listing. There's
Oh.
2, there's a motor vehicle driver's license and then there's a treasure tax.
tax, yep.
I have a question
So there's
on Zoom.
2.
Cindy, you have a question?
Just a comment, this morning when I was having trouble getting in because I didn't have the passcode, it took me 32 seconds to get to Michelle. So, but I think once people know what extension they want, kind of just like when you call the FSA office, you know which option to push, it'll go faster. But I was wondering, it's like, where in the world is the auditor's office?
Right, and we're like 5th or 6th on the list, so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was in your same boat last Friday.
Yeah. Thank you, Cindy, for helping with the conversation, because I just come to the courthouse. I usually don't call. I don't know why.
You should call.
I should call.
They would appreciate it if you-
Feel the love.
Then we will lock the doors.
And I still have to wait to talk to somebody, so it's all good. They start hiding. So thank you, Cindy, for that input. So thank you, Jake. We appreciate your dedication to getting this done. It hasn't been easy. Sometimes change is really hard.
Especially with Frontier.
There's a
Yeah,
lot of
that's-
planning.
Look,
then,
it's been a progress for a long time, so.
Good change though.
Yes,
It will be.
it
I
will
think
be.
the sooner that we get the treasurer.
Can't wait for the
up to speed.
divorce to become
Everybody's
final.
went.
Yes.
Yeah.
'Cause-
Yeah.
It'll be
Do
nice.
you have any chance of disputing that bill though? So why would it
We
happen?
did.
I tried.
Yeah.
They just won't listen to you?
Well,
Yeah.
I could,
They did it so wonky. It was really
Well,
not good.
I called in on the 18th to just, to, about a question regarding this. And they said, okay, give us 24 to 48 hours to address the bill. Well, clock's ticking on when the bill date is due, or bill is due.
Right, because we
Okay.
still needed to pay the entire bill.
Yep.
Or.
So, so I gave them their 24 to 48 hours and never got an update, never got anything from them, okay? Called back Wednesday, and that's when they told me, well, the contract ended March 9th. And I'm like, no, it didn't. Gene Hayden signed it on February 8th. And but that doesn't signify that that's when the contract ends. It signifies that we're not renewing, okay? And
Yeah.
that's the conversation I had with Frontier, okay?
Yeah.
And then it just kept perpetuating, and I still, to this day, apparently my case that I opened got shoved to billing and it got closed. I didn't even get a notification that any of that occurred.
Well, we can't fix any of that because that's just the way the
No.
organization runs and we did our best.
Yeah,
So thank you for what you've done.
Maybe why we got a new phone system,
All right.
eh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Temporary.
and eventually we'll get off of that PRI here shortly.
Patience
So,
is a virtue. We're going the
Yes.
right direction. So thank you very much.
PRI, what about PIA? Oh.
It might as well be. So
All
anyways,
right, thank you.
No
Appreciate
problem.
the
Anything
update.
else you got for me?
All right. Nope, we're
Thank you,
good.
Jake.
Anything else for our citizens' input today out on Zoom? And then going once, going twice?
Did you wanna talk about public health building?
You haven't done your report,
I can't.
supervisor.
Where'd you need me for that at all, or?
Well,
Yep, have a seat.
we did open up. I missed
Pandora's
my
box?
back shelf
Yeah,
down
here
there,
we
had to
go.
keep my paper on the
Get that
floor,
down.
and then we had kids in here, the kids are walking on my paper.
We can, let's talk about that.
Before I forget, I wanna remind us all that tomorrow we have the secondary roads, training at,
Oh, their safety
11.
meeting or whatever.
yeah, I just wanted to make sure I didn't get out of here without reminding you, because Paul just sent me a thing. Everybody knows about that, right?
Yes, I'll be out of town, but
All right,
Yellow smoke.
everybody an
Yellow smoke.
attaboy for me.
board, luncheon at Yellow Smoke
Save me a
tomorrow at
couple wings.
11:30. All right?
So we can show up for lunch.
It's fine.
Yeah,
Very close
unless
to wings,
I've
too.
sat through the
I
safety
did too
training
the first
before.
time.
Yep.
Right.
And I decided I'm gonna keep my day job, so. All right, so public health, we did open up the bids. We had an RFP out for the painting of the upstairs only. And so there's so many moving parts up there as far as the damage to the walls taken out. And then we hadn't had a board meeting to determine if in fact we were going to take certain sinks out, and the board decided yesterday that there will be approximately 5 of the sinks and the cabinets out will be taken out. The desks will not fit in there with the sinks in there to the offices that are specific to an office where they're not gonna be seeing patients and so forth. The examining rooms will keep them, but there are some sinks going out. So we actually tabled all of the RFPs that came in because there were so many questions. So we're gonna call you in, Jake, on Friday at some point in time to explain exactly what, we got everything we need. We're gonna call the painter in to just make sure that all the bullet points for what the bid says that they're going to do is exactly what the board is. So it's making progress. I feel good about it. And the question that we had was the flooring in the basement. Public health does not feel they should pay for the entire flooring. That this bill should be cut in half because they're only actually going to be using half of it. So I thought I said I'd bring that
Who's
forward.
paying the bill?
Ultimately, the taxpayers.
Taxpayers.
The county.
Right.
Yeah.
Whether it's
And the
Peter or
building
Paul.
Do they got money in their budget to pay for these things?
Well, since it's
Then
going
take
to
it
be,
out.
since it's going to be the veterans, they didn't feel that the flooring in the veterans
Right.
I
side.
don't
The
care if
money
it comes
comes
from
from the
veterans or
same
from them.
pool.
Right.
Well, that 150,000 that we set aside
That
for
was
them,
ARPA funds.
that was
Yep.
ARPA funds. And so that is the question. I said I would bring it forward. So
They don't wanna spend their ARPA
funds,
funds
on
on
right.
the full floor that isn't.
And I
I actually
I get
spoke
that.
up.
Who's ARPA funds?
all of
The
ours.
county.
All of
I
our,
spoke up at that part of the meeting because they asked, what was that
Yep.
150 intended for?
yep, we did.
And I said, our board's understanding was that was for the entirety of the building. Now, to get it going, and if they have things that are specific to them, that's what their money's for, out of their budget. If Louise has things that are specific to her, that's what her budget will be for. You know, I mean, cause she's got like her little, where she can do the video chat for medical purposes and what have you.
I just want a plan. You know, have the Board of Health sit down and say, this is our plan, and if the 150 with what they're doing, because we added VA to it, doesn't cover it, at least just come tell us.
Right. And that's the reason that
That's
these
all I wanna know.
RFPs are so
Cause
important.
you're right,
to us.
Kyle, it's all the same pot.
I agree.
Right.
Tax.
It's all about the understanding and the perception of what we intended. And so, part of this, we have $150,000. Well, the IT room, the total bid was $54,122, which we've already paid $25,593 of that for the IT room.
And
So-
that's separate than the 150.
Well, that's
Part of it.
Well, that's what they talked,
That's
they
why-
asked that question.
Part of it is.
Because they
Jake
wanted to
did-
know about your.
Jake did a server room quote, and I don't think that included the mechanical or the construction. part.
Right, that was, I
It
mean,
was equipment.
yes, it was equipment.
This is
And
equipment.
that's
It
for your
was.
backup stuff,
That's for, like.
but that won't be part of our 150.
So the 25,961.
That I don't know if what that
Half
was
has already
supposed to be
been
for.
paid
Okay, I was
to
under the
advanced, communications
Out of
or whatever.
I'm not in a position to be able
Out
to.
of
pull it.
ARPA
Backup,
funds.
cause that's
Separate
unique
from the
to you, it
150,
ain't unique to
Separate from the
building.
150.
Yes.
The 150 would
So-
include
There is no servers included.
his door, the
in
drywall that goes
building.
in that
Okay.
room.
That
That's what
was-
that's gonna include.
It was just to be
I
able
know,
to
it's-
house electrical item, or IT items, the cabinet, the
How much
video
short of the 150 are we gonna be?
We don't know
I
yet.
don't know that.
Because if we take everything, the concrete, the windows, the painting outside, the flooring downstairs, the painting upstairs, we're gonna be real close to the 150, but, because we need a generator yet too. So when I itemize out, without getting these RFPs, but we have a.
Tops.
So part of
Right.
your budget amendment
Mhm.
is capital projects,
Yep.
funds that we put, it's in the Department of Management portion of the website. It did not get into our Tyler part of the budget. So
Of 100,000,
$100,000.
which,
I mean, it should not take $100,000 to do that portion, I believe, of VA and the, drywall and all that part
Right.
of.
So hypothetically speaking, we got room somewhere potentially $250,000 to spend on fixing this place up. 150 of ARPA funds, yeah. And
Well, there's
100,000,
112 remaining.
112 remaining, so we got 212,000 remaining that could be spent for this.
Yeah.
And
So it just gets convoluted. Is there money in public health budget that they specifically put in there for?
I don't know. Are they paying for their own desks?
yes,
Yes, that's actually a grant.
yes, yes.
That's actually a
I
grant.
knew that, but.
Yeah, and originally.
So and then if you add in the 100 for capital improvements, I mean, it should never get
It will
there,
never
but I'm
get
just
there.
No,
saying.
it shouldn't.
It will never get there.
Well, this whole
So let's
this whole
proceed.
argument about-
Keep going.
we're not paying for this because we don't want that out of our budget. We're only paying for half the floor over here because we're only gonna use it half the time. It don't matter. It's coming out of the same
We are
thing.
paying.
Okay.
They
It's
aren't
coming out of the
paying, we're
same
paying.
bucket. It's
And the
coming out of the same
reason-
checkbook.
Exactly.
I bring it forward.
That's why I said I just want a
Yeah.
That's what I
plan.
said
Just tell me a
yesterday.
plan and what it's gonna cost.
I said, the only thing that's, like, they're getting desks. That's
That's
their
theirs.
baby.
That's theirs.
If he's gonna put it, if he was gonna put some big backup system over there, that would be his thing.
Right.
And are you putting a big backup system?
If you're putting a
No.
4-car garage
Okay.
out there, that's your thing.
There is a few small items, but they have already been in that bid that we awarded to Corey back when,
But
okay?
here's the
That's
question
it.
that happened yesterday. So with this room,
Mhm.
you know, having to have our mini splitter, having to have your own, fuse box,
Mhm.
having to, you know, that adds up to the cost so substantially. So they took the board over to what they have right now, the
Mhm.
little, just a setting in a closet kind of a deal. They don't understand why this is going to cost so much to just take the system they have and move it over to that building.
Okay, I'll sit down with them and explain that one to them.
Well, we're gonna do that Friday if you don't mind. Yeah,
What I
if you don't
can
mind, if you don't mind.
I think
If
that's
VA
free to
moves in
move
there
it.
and it
Well,
costs extra because of a door or, whatever, how they're walling it off, just explain that to us.
Yep,
Mhm.
and we will, but I needed to bring it all forward to this board. Cause that's why I brought that up.
It's
The
one
building's-
for
the building
tap
is
just
county.
upsetting me. We've been over 2 years we've owned this building. We've been paying heat and electric and water on the front show. For this dang thing.
Mhm.
I think it's time we this board just get it done,
Okay,
get them moved in there. We'll provide the building.
Yep.
They wanna have their stuff, whatever.
That's my
okay.
point.
And it really
We
should
need to
be
get this done.
the
I'm
Board of
ready.
Health taking the bull by the horns and doing it.
Well, the downstairs is the VA and that.
Except for the one portion, which is WIC.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Wick and
But-
DHS.
But it only makes sense to do all that when we're there.
Correct, correct.
That's
And
right.
and the bid for the entire floor,
We've talked about this at nauseam.
You got a bid for the floor?
we did get a bid
Oh,
for
we
the
had a
floor.
plan and made already.
Right here, hold on. Somebody stepped on my paperwork.
Don't start blaming the kids.
They have little feet.
Spreading it all out on the floor because there's so much stuff to do.
Next option, put a for sale sign.
Thank you.
I believe it was, it's around $17,000.
You know what, we've noticed though, some of these special projects that's got more than one set of fingers.
Who bid that?
AP four, we're the
AP
only
four,
ones that
okay,
should
well.
throw it up.
Be done.
I mean, we got all the
And they're
stuff
local.
lined up to get it
Oh,
done.
here it is
It's
right
just a matter of
$14,960
I don't know why we haven't just said, get it
$80.84.
executing.
15 grand.
15 grand.
15K
And
for
then the
floor.
bid for,
And that's just the basement.
just the basement, just the basement. And then the bid, total bid from, Advanced Communication was at $54,122, of which we've already paid $25,593 for the equipment.
54, what?
$54,122.
And that's your stuff.
Yes,
So we already paid half.
That's
we
an,
haven't paid for labor
that's
yet.
an additional bid.
No, that's original.
That's the
Pretty
original
much, pretty
bid.
much the original. He just hasn't ordered all of this equipment.
So out of 54, half of it's paid on, that's the material.
Right, and to paint all of the rooms, this is a long, and to fix the walls with the holes and so forth and so on, remove cupboards. The amount was $8,925
Who did
plus.
that?
This came from Susie Aikman from Schleswig, Iowa, same person that did the outside. And then if she has to remove, the actual cabinets, that's another $840 to do that.
So the 8,009 plus another
Right, another
About 10
$840.
grand.
But we just want to meet with her to bullet point exactly, we need to be more specific.
basically
What else you got?
over
That's
10
it.
grand.
So we're at 15 and 10.
50,000. Add all those together, 50,000.
Approximately.
I got a rough idea what that downstairs is gonna cost.
Okay,
That's probably to do both VA and the WIC. You'd probably, and that's, here again,
This is for the
Electrical.
wallboard and stuff?
that's electrical and plumbing is still up in the air,
mhm.
cause he can't bid that
No, that's be
disaster.
by the hour.
Yeah.
I'm guessing they were gonna be 75,000.
So another 25 on top of what you saw.
No, that's for
No,
actually gutting it and putting walls up and drywalling and a fixed false ceiling, so it's actually inhabitable.
That's about right.
75?
That's more than I
You're
thought.
figuring it with the electric, the
No.
water, electric,
That's no electric or water.
well, that's just the wallboard,
Uh-huh.
That's tearing, gutting, rebuilding.
doors,
The
that's doors and everything.
Doors, you know.
So we're really
drop
looking at
ceiling.
250
Doesn't
all
surprise me after having done our house, it doesn't
Yeah.
really surprise me.
But the,
I don't know, it's just an estimate.
Yeah, that's
Purchase to
true.
bid that? Wait,
we'll put it out for an RFP,
Yeah.
just to do a.
Just had a rough estimate on what it is, what the RFP's
Square
coming back, you know. Cause I wanted a number that's gonna, how are we planning for the, you know, what are we planning for? RFP comes back less or more, I don't know.
We'll get one out to, just so we have our money all in order, and that's why we went ahead and did that flooring. So we would figure out where we're at, how much money we have left.
You know, if you consider all the things we're putting in there though now.
I know.
We're gonna get revenue back from DHS and.
Yeah. And eliminate rent.
And the
payments.
sale of the building, that's still a
Get
big,
one
gonna be-
electric and one water bill, one heat bill.
yeah, it's,
We've wasted probably
Right.
30,000 already just paying for stuff
Ding, ding, ding.
and that every year that sits idle, we just.
yeah.
And that whole thing is probably gonna roll over into our next fiscal year. I'm
Right.
just
Oh, yeah.
guessing that,
Well, there's no way it'd be done by.
right, which
June
will
30th.
only help the funding. Is why I'm saying that,
So that's.
Oh, yeah.
Especially if you put,
cause we have more, I think we have another,
Yeah.
some more in capital for the next fiscal
We
year.
put in, yeah,
100,000.
another 100, 24,
I
25.
remember some of that.
Well, what would be, some of that we need in this building too.
Just as equally
Some earmarked for
bad as you
Nelson's
get halfway through the project and.
That's
you
separate.
get Budget for it.
That's separate.
That's why we're getting all of these numbers, so we have an
conservation
idea, because
capital.
who among
Half
us
remodeled
knows
it.
what
So
Florence
I don't
is
have
gonna
any
be.
more money.
That 75,000 or whatever it was.
Thanks.
So that's my update.
Woohoo,
So
Thanks.
Friday, hammered
keep
out.
it going, Dean.
I,
Keep the wheels of progress
Did
turning.
you need a new
Wanna
one?
Go over that more?
Yeah, should we talk about
Can we do
that?
this quick before we?
I think everybody has it. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jake.
Thanks, Jake. I'll let you
You're
know
a good
what time
man.
Friday
Keep
we're
up the
gonna
good
get
work.
together over there, just to,
Wonderful.
you'll be excited when you get there.
Yeah.
So everybody should have a spreadsheet like this. And
I
it's just
do.
kind of a breakdown of what your amendment is gonna look like.
But
But it does not include Paul's portion yet.
oh,
You know
Yeah,
how
and
much
that'll be
that's gonna
fuel and stuff.
I
so
don't
that'll
know how
probably be
much his
cheap.
is. But his always has some funding behind it. You know what I mean?
it's got revenue with all.
Usually. And some of this does, small chunks of it
I
does.
mean, did it,
So we're starting off with conservation, and that's for their vehicles that they were putting off.
Yep,
I think that was discussed in their budget meeting. And then the 15,000 is that trust bridge from,
Trust Bridget.
oh yeah, Bridget.
But
so I
technically,
thought,
Sorry,
I thought,
I'm a busy
I thought
girl.
the bridge was free, right?
But not the
Is that
installation.
The labor.
Labor, yeah.
but it's kind of Peter and Paul deal again, because that goes right back
Right,
to Paul charged that for
Right.
labor. So
Yeah.
it's within county, so it's.
right, because it's not technically a secondary road function,
Right.
yeah.
not technically.
So the money's changing hands within the county, so that's the county still.
So his budget amendment should come back with $15,000 revenue coming in somewhere.
Should.
Who?
Paul.
Yeah, exactly. So then, and then next is IT, and that 5,000 is our shared internet. The city increased some of their, places that they were getting internet through that three-way split that we do, city, county, DMU. So there's revenue to back that, $5,000. That 9,000 was that AD audit plus that we talked in one of our committee meetings.
Yeah.
And I think the committee recommended him just getting it. And instead of piecemealing over a number of years or something.
We were money ahead to do it all at once and try to
Yes.
spread it out.
Yes,
Makes sense.
yeah. The next one is, for the supervisor's budget, and schoolings. Increasing by 10,000 to get through, hopefully get through the budget year.
Okay.
Veterans Affairs, she had a copy contract, she had Jake had gotten her one, it didn't function properly, they returned it. So the money for that contract was also returned, that's why there's funds available, cause she was reimbursed that, and she's entered into yet a new copier contract.
Okay.
So that's just to fund that. The county farm has funds so we can pay Pheasants Forever for that land management contract. And, the CRP seating, which is not gonna happen now, right?
It will not
Okay.
happen in this fiscal year, so.
Okay, so we could eliminate that 10,000 then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah, early it
That's why
could
we
be next
wanna have this
fall.
meeting.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that,
Yep.
Okay.
So sheriff, that is that medical treatment that I think it's through CCMH
yeah,
that he has put off paying. And I think they've evaluated it and made sure that those funds were actually for the prisoners while they were prisoners and not,
There was one of them that was
Release.
actually when a guy was getting an operation,
Yeah.
that was a big one.
yeah. So the county wanted to make sure that CCMH was properly reimbursed or paid for those bills. So
On a nine-
that's
I still have that
90,000
list.
for that.
It's a good chunk, I mean.
It is a good chunk.
But it goes back several years, it's not.
Yeah.
just for,
Yeah,
you know.
And we've got bills to back up the 90,000.
Yes.
Yep.
yeah.
That's where if you go to jail in the county and you have.
And you go, I never heard of having surgery while you're.
What was,
oh
what
yeah,
happened?
if it happens while you're in here.
What was it,
Well,
a rupture of
that's
appendicitis?
While you're in
I
jail.
think it was
Appendix.
appendicitis.
Yep, they were complaining.
Carroll
about it.
County had a gal that was gonna go into labor and they
Was shipped
quickly,
over to Crawford?
no, they released her somehow early so they didn't have to pay for the birthing costs.
Oh, she was in prison, in jail over there.
Yeah, I
Couldn't
think that,
release them on their own recognizance.
Yeah, we've actually done
Here, time to
that.
go home.
that's
Sentence-
something,
Sentence
that-
commuted.
that's something where I wish the state would address that on.
Yeah.
They kind of are.
They're trying, it seems like they're
Well,
trying.
because
They
they also
actually are.
lose their Medicaid.
We talked about
when
that
they
at
don't
ISAC.
want
Right.
Yeah, then we have courthouse, and out of that comes the heating for the jail, and there was a problem with that heat pump.
Mhm.
So that's 7,000. The next one is the auditor's budget, and that is that house file mailing, we'll reduce that to 5,000.
Yep.
That's why I asked if you had to do two, because I
Yeah,
didn't know.
no, cause the 10, I just threw a number in there just to make sure we had something
Sure.
Yep.
budgeted for it. County attorney, that's that carpel system that he wanted to do over a number of years, and in your budget discussions,
We
you
said
said
do
just
it.
do it, and,
Give them the-
I think originally he was talking 25, but he got a proposal that said 29. And he's making sure that he can accomplish that in this fiscal year.
That's the
So
one that's got all of his.
that's instead of that Law Pro or that Law.
So really,
yeah,
I
Pro
mean,
Law
I
thing.
remember the.
you take 15,000 off of the
Yeah, we're down to
246.
about
And
231.
then some of them, like you said, is gonna have revenue coming back in, like the 15,000 bridge.
$8,800 in revenue.
So really, you're about down to
About
200.
about 224,
Well,
five.
We
if you
don't
take
know
the
what
br-
Paul's got.
If you take the bridge,
Yeah.
This is just general fund. We aren't.
Yeah, we're not
into the
Also,
next
we're not
fund.
in rural.
We're not done.
Oh, yeah, so if you hypothetically, the bridge should actually show up as a revenue somewhere.
For Paul.
Right,
so technically, that's what I'm getting at. You're around at just over 200.
right.
That-
Yep, exactly. So then we go down to the next fund, it's general supplemental. In the auditor's budget, it's for that, our election equipment, the scanners,
Mhm.
47,000, they're coming in April.
Okay.
Conservation, what was it? I can't remember why he didn't budget.
Couple of them were,
I thought they went to.
Yeah, it was health, there were health insurance things,
yeah,
but
some
they're
were
specific to
singles.
those function numbers,
Yeah, someone, one was single. and
Yeah,
got
someone went to
married and became
family.
a Family and then.
something, yeah.
Okay.
So we're
sort of
making
numbers
sure
came.
that can be funded properly. On the back is the tower fund. Our general services department, transferring that 200,000 to EMA
Okay.
out of tower fund.
Okay.
Which is already there, that's a.
It's already there. The money's in the fund. We just need the spending authority.
Right.
Got it.
And then, once we get Paul's stuff, and we'll know that, he's supposed to have that to us by, oh, sorry, forgot. And then that capital funds, the 100,000.
Yeah, yeah.
We're getting that so we can, spend it.
Have some cushion.
Well, it's not ARPA.
Well, you got ARPA 300,000 on my page.
Yeah, I got that too.
Where is that? Oh, yeah, we need the spending authority. Of course, ARPA has funds in the fund. And that's to be able to get that city center, project flowing. We can't spend 300,000. I just grabbed a round number because at the point we did this, I didn't know what the number was gonna be. And now I do know.
So we can get an exact
So
number?
our remaining ARPA balance is $906,090.82. 906.
I know,
Who's got a
690,
calculator?
82.
906,090.82. Minus, so we've committed 750,000 to the wellness center. So whatever that is. Do some math.
156,090.82.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Would you say that again,
It would be
Craig?
156.
156,090.82.
Thank you.
That's what we have
You
left.
used
That's what's-
have to come up with that fast?
That's what's
I was
left.
counting my toes.
That's what's left.
156.
City center server room is coming out of that.
It's coming out of the 156.
Yeah. The little over 112 is for the rest of the remodel. That isn't gonna be capital funds. Probation office, I got that bill yesterday
How bad was that?
and it is more than $12,000. It was about $18,000. We have almost that amount in, ARPA to pay for it. That isn't already committed.
Did they hit us up with a change order when they didn't put that window in right?
I don't know. She made a lot of changes.
Did she really?
Yes, during the project.
They
Yeah.
made changes actually in the.
After they
after-
designed it, they
Wow.
made changes.
So to really, or like the public health in the city center, the 112 of ARPA funds is just that extra cushion we could use for VA, WIC, remodel,
Well, that's gonna get.
No,
used.
it's gonna get used
That is
upstairs.
gonna be used.
No, that's these bids I brought
Yeah.
in today. to
Okay.
try to
It's
whittle
committed to the
down.
senior,
Well,
the city
while I'm
center.
thinking about it, and we're all sitting here, should we put out like a little golden rule when these contractors start that no change orders are billable until they've been approved by this board?
Cause the only one I talked to them about was the door.
Now, I remember the
Cause
window.
they wanted a half door originally, but
Now she wants a
then,
glass door.
and then got a full, it's a wooden door with a glass window in it.
Okay, and they want they need that steel door for Jake's room. Remember, he wants that steel door. They
Oh,
want it to
that.
be white, and he wants it to be
How much
wider to
unspoken
get the
ARPA
equipment
funds do
in.
we have left?
Zero.
Okay.
None.
None, all accounted for. I'll email you guys this spreadsheet.
On these other funds?
Yeah.
I know
Just
some of
these
them are
little
pass-throughs or just
reminders That we
transfers.
all have,
42 and
Not
Does
very
each-
many.
Does each fund
Just-
have enough money in that fund, or do we have to draw from the
I just,
General.
I've
general
always
to?
tried to figure
These
out
are
the-
coming
out-
from balances.
Mini split.
All of
Why you
this
need your
from-
own air
from the
conditioning
general.
in
Yeah.
there.
From the general.
General supplemental, that's why we have them broken down by fund.
Gotcha.
They're coming from those funds.
Take you downstairs into
Yeah.
the server room.
It's kind of a nice way you got it all.
And that's got its own air
Yeah,
conditioning.
Yeah.
that's why we did
'Cause
that.
it gets hot.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
It'll look way different on the department.
Well, I guess what I'm getting
Hot
at,
too, 'cause it's got a base
six,
with
wherever
no
we're
window
at,
ventilation.
6.5, nearly in, that'll, a lot of that.
Coming out of there.
Yep.
So Terry, maybe you can just briefly explain
Come out of that.
to me, this is a budget amendment for the 23-24 budget year. that
Current.
We have our current budget year, that we did not budget for these items that
Right.
we spent already.
Are gonna,
Or going
Or not.
not, I don't think any of them have been
But-
spent.
So between us either approving the budget amendment by the end of June 30th, we plan on spending
Yes,
this money then.
correct.
And so when you do a budget amendment, since we've already taxed the taxpayers of Crawford County,
Comes out of fund
comes out.
balances.
this comes out of our fund balance, which currently we don't have the authority to spend the money in the fund balance until we,
You do. You do that. and
Through the amendment.
Through the amendment, you'll.
But then our 6.5 million savings
Right.
account that'll draw from that.
Well, we will through the amendment as long as we don't have, I don't know, too much grief. I know, how's that work when we have our budget hearing?
I mean, if we had
The budget hearing is separate from the amendment
I
hearing.
mean amendment.
right, but if we had a big contingency, it says, that's a waste of money.
Yeah,
Yep,
We don't, the taxpayers do not approve of that.
You could opt to
We can say, well, we're not gonna do that.
eliminate some of it.
there you go.
that's why we have the public hearing.
That's
It's
the
another
explanation.
step to make sure that the people know what, and
Yep, what the county is spending their
Transparency.
funds on.
Some of it though, we ultimately, like the mailing, has to be paid.
Right.
It's a
the
bill we
hospital
use.
bill.
The hospital bill has to be paid, they're dictated by
Some of that
state.
stuff is
It looks
just
a
your
lot.
bills.
This looks like the biggest budget amendment I've ever been around, but the 90,000 has been racking up for years.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right,
And
And we've taken on this remodel over there,
right,
which necessarily wouldn't have ever been, we never had the ARPA funds, but
right.
we gotta remember though, cause
what the ARPA funds cost us.
yeah, well, it is costing us, but it's really not, but it's given us an opportunity to do some things
that we,
would never have
Wouldn't
done.
have done, we wouldn't have done that big, beautiful bathroom remodel on the
No.
first floor.
no,
No,
which
We'd
was
have never done
necessary.
that. It was so, it's so nice.
But-
It is nice.
thinking when we get this remodel project done, we,
They were-
as a board back in 2015, 16, somewhere in there, moved conservation out of the building, because we were out of room. Right? And that was all expense, all incurred, because we needed the room, and they wanted to move, and it worked. So, well, here we got, public health is out of room, VA needs more space.
Jake,
We're gonna bring revenue in instead of having an expenditure.
Yeah.
So even if we do spend 230,000 getting that building, it's, to me, it's gonna be money spent.
Well spent.
Well,
And we're gonna get the revenue to come back on the sale of that
that's
building.
exactly right. And the money that DHS is sending us now, that's just a pass through to rent their space down.
Right, they will
below,
still
Will
be,
stay with the county.
they'll reevaluate the new space and
Right.
determine what that LEA
Right.
is.
Right, so,
You say LEA.
and it gives,
It's an acronym for something.
What they're willing to pay you, how's that?
So currently though, we're getting you said
$750.
$750 a month, we're getting rent from
We are,
DHS,
DHS.
well, we're paying
We're
rent
Paying rent.
yeah,
to Jim Brown.
Yep.
They are reimbursing us for the
so
expenses
it's
of
we're just a
that.
pass through where we'll get to keep that money for
So
the space
some
that they.
utilities,
yeah.
some
Gotcha.
rent,
Yep.
yeah. But
And
it's
then
usually
also-
quite a bit.
Our mental health advocate has no real office to be able to see people. And
Or get to bill them for that.
We can. So there's, and WIC right now is using
the
a
state
different
money
basement of a church
for
every
billing.
week. And this way they'll have a central location. There's no
They
way
should
to
like
see where WIC's gonna be. It's always gonna
charge
be in the
us.
same place.
That's paid.
And the veterans.
You know, I get it.
Are excited.
I'll never
because
complain
they can
about
park
the
right
tax
there
rate,
and
you
Go
know,
in rather than
tax,
park way out here.
trying to fix
It's
tax.
a win-win for everybody.
You know, I'm always for that.
So,
It's just the
all right,
down the road thing, the consequences that inflation can bring to us, that I'm worried.
So granted, this, like I said, it's a big numbers.
it is a big number.
A lot of this stuff is, has to be done. It needs to be done.
The other thing, when it comes to public health, a lot of people say, oh, I remember when it was just one nurse on the third floor. The dynamics of our community is
Still
completely
that way in
different.
Monona County.
Well, but do they have, yeah,
Yeah, but I think they contract with the
Hospital.
hospital over there, so.
A lot of counties do.
But on immunization
So
day,
not, so they're necessarily their billing, I mean, still.
They may not be any money further ahead, but,
yeah,
you know, I don't know what that contract looks like, how much they give the hospital to run their public health.
I'm sure it's a big number
It
because,
probably is a large number.
Carroll's was a very large number and they actually went away from the
Right.
hospital.
Yep. So it's not the one fits all type deal, but I mean,
but if
you
you're.
know, and a lot of,
public-
some of this, again, on this budget hearing, we as a board chose to put it in here, this cartel. We told them, take it out of your budget, we're gonna pay for it.
Right,
Yes,
to not levy.
Yeah.
Some of that is an avoidance of levying things, you know,
Yep.
you've eliminated a lot of lines
It's
that
not a
were
big-
being
it's not a
levied
big
and
deal.
not spent. So,
so that helped keep that
If
up
we,
down.
if we take it out of general fund, those are all tax dollars that had been levied already, not being used, so.
And isn't it, I mean, if
It's
we
not
know
as bad
that,
as it looks, is what I'm trying to
It's,
say.
no.
Right.
I agree with you.
It,
so this is things that we would, to me, that's where we made sure that stuff didn't get left in a line item that could be used, I don't wanna say frivolously, but on other things.
For other things.
then what
Yeah,
it was
that they
intended.
probably wouldn't have spent, but hey, we got that money, I've always wanted, you know, and so this kind of eliminates some of that. But, I mean, the cartel thing made a lot of sense, so I mean, obviously, we approved that, but we approved that. And then, we've been, reminded time and time again, that that's our silo. You know, I mean, and it's right, I mean, and so that's to be fiscally responsible to the taxpayers, we're just watching the details.
Well, to add to Kyle's point, really, to me, a budget amendment isn't always a bad thing. That means that we didn't overtax to start with.
Exactly.
Correct.
And if you're able to lower the levy and you aren't overtaxing, that should say quite a bit about we're managing the budget.
Through again, 9 years, whatever I've been on here, this is our first budget amendment for this fiscal year, isn't it correct? Did we do one earlier?
October,
But usually
October, September.
we tried to, it seemed like we did 3 or 4 of them, and this only being our second one.
Yeah,
I think.
pretty much,
So,
except for when you get too close to the end of the year.
right.
just consider the repairs to get that city center ready as a loan. Consider the loan until we can sell the building and then we'll.
Well, but it is kind of a loan until we get the building.
Right, so, and for the service that it's gonna provide for our citizens that need the public assistance, it's such a nice upgrade.
It's a nice location where they annex it too, so that should be some nice commercial real estate,
Yeah.
I think.
I had
We're kind of
people,
losing the boat on some of this maybe too.
yeah,
We could have sold it 2 years ago.
We could have.
The value was higher,
we could have,
but we don't
yeah,
know
look
that.
backwards.
We don't know that.
We're providing a public
Hindsight's
service.
20/20. Just need
so-
2 buyers.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
All
right.
auction moto.
So we've had our citizens input, so it looks like we're down to the point where we need to
Were we
adjourn. this
adjourned?
meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Alright,
Aye.
Meeting is now adjourned. Thank you for input. It's always so much.
Too long, 'cause my back